Hello there. Atheist Jr. here, your friend and humble narrator. And me and my good friend Mark Reid are just doing a little bit of a live stream open mic. I had a couple announcements that I wanted to make about the channel. And so I'm going to take care of those. And then me and Mark are just going to sort of um, have a discussion on a few random things. And hey, if anybody interesting shows up, I'd be happy to add them. So
You don't have to
how are
be
you?
interesting, though. I mean, you can be boring and show up. That's fine too. I'm good with that. I'm sure AJ will be good with that as well. So,
How are you
especially
doing,
if you
Mark?
want to, yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm doing really well. It's a Monday morning here, so taking a break from things and jumping on stream, which is fantastic. I'm glad you gave me a poke. Yeah, I have been doing trying to line a couple of debates up, which has been fun. Probably the next one, I will probably doing morality, depending on what happens, and get the confirmation in. But I do have that debate against Kent later on in the month that I am really looking forward to. I want another crack at Hovind. I want to. He did not come off very well the last time, so I don't know. I felt I've gotten better since then. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But thank you so much for having me on, and thank you everybody for joining us. It should be fun.
Yeah, I love that last debate you did with Ken. I thought that was probably the best debate I've seen you do against Kent, and probably one of the best I've ever seen you do. I loved how aggressive you were. And really, that debate is a great example to show anybody that debating Ken is a waste of time. It's a waste of time
It
if
depends
he's
what
going
you're
to act
trying.
like that.
It depends what you're trying to achieve, really. And I think I kind of agree with Jay Bundy in that respect, that he wasn't debating in order to win the debate. Like, that wasn't what he was doing. I agree with him. If you just want to have some fun, debate. Kent's awesome. You can just muck around with him and make him look like an idiot. You can have a lot of fun. And quite frankly, one of the reasons why I debate is because I enjoy it. I enjoy the presentations. I enjoy doing the slides and presenting my case and talking about the other person's case. So, but yeah, you're right. It's a waste of time if you want to have a productive debate where something external to your own, your own experience comes out of it. I guess you could make the argument that it produces content, that people are interested in. It depends what you're after, AJ. But I think you're interested in productive conversations, and yeah, you're right. You probably won't get one with Ken. No.
I mean, I'm just interested in having a conversation period where I feel like person A talks, person B responds, and like
You won't get that.
you actually have somebody respond to what you actually said, or not have the person interrupt and overtalk you when you're trying to talk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting. I was talking about my debate with Jill and how he overtalked me and stuff like that. I've kind of reframed things as kind of a mental judo. It's good when somebody is acting like that. It's good for me in the debate because they are making themselves look so bad, and people can tell when somebody doesn't want the other person to talk, right? When they're just stifling them completely. And if you can break out of the mentality that that's bad for you, it is in fact good for you, it's actually a good thing. Like, because then you can sort of point that out. You've got some ammo. You can, if you can get your voice out there afterwards, you can say, obviously, they don't want me to talk. I noticed that in a debate with, who was that idiot? Mr. Batman. Like, people said so often, it was so obvious he had absolutely no argument whatsoever. Yeah, that's because he didn't want me to talk at all. Hello, James W. It's always good to see you, mate. And Dr. Dan, thank you for joining us. Sorry, I'm just looking at the stellar people we have showing up. Dr. Dan is fantastic. Definitely subscribe to him. He does everything evolution orientated. I've learned a lot from his channel. Absolutely fantastic. Hi, Jason. Yep.
Well, I had a few things that I just wanted to go over. So I'm going to knock those out just before we have anybody come in the backstage. That way I'm not
Sure,
keeping
sure,
anybody
absolutely.
waiting. So let me share my screen. Because I got a very bizarre comment from Kent Hovind earlier today. I believe this morning, my time, Central American time.
If you just the backstory, I'll just fill in the backstory for those who are unaware of the weirdness coming out from Kent's side here. He put together a reenactment video of his interaction from his perspective with Cindy Hovind, who he's been found guilty in one court. He's appealed, but he's found guilty of domestic violence against. Now, the reenactment video he did is baffling. It's so how would you describe that? Uncanny,
Unsettling.
eerily unsettling. Thank you. Perfect. Incredibly unsettling. The Cindy character is like this big guy with tats and a wig on, but they're not wearing women's clothes. It's so strange. And Cindy is this very small petite woman. Like, she's very small. I don't. Who is this for? It's weird. I'm sorry. It's just this reenactment video is strange. And do go on, AJ. I'm just. Yeah.
Well, quite interesting that Kent seemed to have a blonde wig just on standby. So that's curious. But yes, I do allow, this is a great point from James W. I do allow Kent to leave comments on my channel. I understand that, I could block him and I would be justified, but I like to, my viewers have fun in the comment section, and I don't want to prevent them from having a go at Kent. So I allow him to leave comments. Sometimes.
Well, it's kind of that two wrongs don't make a right. Like, if you block people that disagree with you, that sort of makes you as bad as them. I would support, hey, if he wants to leave a comment. And plus, half the time, James, they make him look really bad. So
Yeah.
Half the time it makes him look terrible. So leave him to comment. He's his own worst enemy.
So Ken uploaded that bizarre reenactment vid where he had a man playing Cindy, and I found this screen cap where this man's pantaloons seem to be slipping, and I found it very funny.
I've always said there's been crack floating around that compound.
I mean, a man wearing a wig with his pants falling down, that's just classic comedy. You know what I mean? So I uploaded it, and it got about 91 upvotes from my viewers. And then Kent didn't like that I posted that image, I guess. So he left a comment, and I'm going to read the comment. So it says, "I bet that turns you on, Miss Patterson." That's my last name. I don't really care at this point. It's out there. I don't really care. So that's a very devastating insult, because we all know there's nothing worse than a woman. So I would not want to be like a woman, so referring to me as a miss is very hurtful, because as we all know, women are bad.
Yeah.
It says, "I bet that turns you on, Miss Patterson. I bet you surf the internet searching for stuff like that. I hope you're aware that intimate contact with human feces can cause serious illness or death."
And
so I'm gonna read. Okay, I'm gonna read this comment, and then we're gonna unpack.
Okay. Yeah. I'll have to hold myself back while I'm. Yeah. All right.
I believe it's been demonstration that lifespan for people who engage in this repulsive activity, is greatly shortened. I pray you will get ready to meet your maker before it becomes too late. Don't forget, I'm always ready to have another debate with you whenever you work up the nerve to try to defend your dumb religion of evolutionism. Okay, so Um, I talked about the first line. I bet you surf the internet searching for stuff
Well,
like
I'm going to
that.
talk about the first line. Not only does he insinuate that being a woman is bad, he also says that being gay is bad. Like,
Right.
call me gay. What do I care? It doesn't. Come on, Ken. Everybody's a little gay. Come on. Like, that's not an insult. And the whole thing is that it's just the he's stuck in the 1940s or something. He really is stuck in time. Yeah. Oh, hello, Amy. Lovely to see you.
So I replied saying, "You're the one that made the video, Kent. Don't project your weird fetishes onto me, bro." Because let's think about this. So Kent produced the video, got a guy at DAL to do this, had it uploaded on another person's channel because he didn't want it polluting his channel. And then I just posted a screenshot from it where this guy is having a wardrobe malfunction. And then he's saying basically that I'm perverted and I seek out images like this on the internet.
Right.
It's, it's like, oh, I bet that you look for similar stuff
Yeah.
to this video that I produced and that I made, you pervert. It's like, that doesn't make sense, Kent.
Well, I mean, so what? Okay, you have a fetish of wearing wigs and on men. So what? Who cares? Like, I'm not going to kink shame anybody. Like, go for it. I don't care. It's just this whole idea that certain things are automatically bad, and that homosexual is automatically bad, and it's just sort of that's not how people see that. That's not how I see that.
Right.
Big deal. You pointed it out because it was funny to see a guy who looks like a roofer. I hope I'm saying that right in American, a roofer, playing a small petite woman with the only concession they make is a blonde wig, which does nothing to make them look like this woman, like nothing. Is wearing these like what in Australia would call footy shorts, or the sort of board shorts, maybe, like that are falling off his ass. And this is the best you can do to make a reenacted. Like, I've seen some bad reenactments on those police shows and things like that.
Yeah.
But this one takes the cake because this is supposed to be, a small petite woman who was his wife who's angry, and the guy's just standing around like it's everything about it is funny. Nothing about it is sexual. And I think the point, AJ, is why did you go to what about this is sexual, right? There's nothing about this that is in any way. It's just funny.
Well, okay, so Kent said, "I hope you're aware that intimate contact with human feces can cause illness or death, blah, blah, blah." So Kent, even though he knows I'm bi, Kent doesn't like nuance. So it's just easier for him to make fun of me for being gay, even though I'm not homosexual.
I don't think it's that he doesn't like nuance. He doesn't understand nuance to like or hate it.
I mean, it's not that hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. He just lumps things in. Look, Kent's just, his first reaction is to conflate. He just conflates everything into one big mess and sort of says, well, everything over there is the same. And it's not the same, Kent. It's not.
Yes. But let's remember a few things. Okay, first off, straight couples have anal sex.
Correct.
Anal sex does not inherently involve feces.
Yes.
People can clean themselves. And also, AIDS is not spread by contact with feces. It's a blood-borne disease.
Well, I don't think he's necessarily saying
he's said that before, though. He has said
that
before.
Okay, that is a total misunderstanding of how that virus is transmitted. Wow. Yep. That's incredibly ignorant. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, that's even worse. Could I also point out, just as it's a bit of an aside, but this man has a case involving this incident. Now, I'm not a lawyer, but I don't think he should be talking about or reenacting his case, right?
Well, no. And remember, this video, I know the reenactment thing is funny, but he added the audio of
Mm,
the whole incident on there, which was really disturbing,
yeah.
you know? And I had not heard that in a long time. And I do not understand why he thinks that that makes him look innocent. It doesn't.
No
It
idea.
never did. It doesn't now. It didn't 12 months ago.
Yeah.
But the protective order, the protection from abuse order forbids Kent. In my opinion, the only way Kent can actually violate it is if he physically comes within 500 feet of Cindy. Now, the language of the
Yeah.
PFA says he's forbidden from doing anything that would make her feel unsafe, annoy her,
Mm.
or be like disruptive to her peace of mind.
This has got to.
I just thought that was funny that it's illegal for Kent to annoy Cindy. I just think that's funny.
Well, I mean, it should be, in my opinion, it should be illegal for Kent to annoy anyone. But that aside, this has got to fall into that category, right? He is basically putting out to look. It may not be illegal. It may not be a violation. It may be fine. It's just, I think if I was in that position, it would be. I feel that it would be incredibly dumb of me to go out and make a reenactment of my version of a case that I'm involved with. I think that the best thing I could do is shut my mouth, don't talk about it, leave it for the court, talk about it with my lawyer, and, get legal representation that knows what they're doing. If the lawyer said to do it, then perhaps I would, but I don't feel like that's a very good idea. Because the more that you're saying, the more he's locked into this version of events. If he's saying this is how it happened, he cannot change that story later. It's very, very silly.
Well, he has changed his story.
Of course he has. Of course, yeah. Why would I think he would keep on the same story? This is Kent Hovind we're talking about.
Well, I'll show you. I actually have a meme that I made, but this is the actual document. So it says that the court orders that Kent shall not come within 500 feet of Cindy. It further orders that Kent shall not take any action or engage in any conduct that would harass, annoy, or alarm the plaintiff.
So, I fail to see how this could not alarm the plaintiff, because it alarms me, and I'm not even the plaintiff.
Yeah,
and it
annoys me. I'm annoyed.
Well, yeah, it's a little annoying, but it more does, like you said, it's pretty disturbing. It's weird. It alarms me, and I'm not even involved in this. So
exactly.
Yeah. Wow. But like you said, he didn't put it on his channel, so he could kind of try and distance himself, I guess. I don't know how he's going to distance himself when he's clearly in this video standing there doing it. But hey, that's just reality. I don't know. When's reality ever been important to this man? Hello, Randolph. It's so good to see you.
Oh, hey, Randolph. Now would be a good time for me to announce that I don't know if you guys are familiar with the video that me and Paula Gia did 12 months ago called Kent Hovind's Dinosaur Scandal Land 2021. But me and Paula Gia are now working on a follow-up to that video. We recorded my audio on Friday, and me and Paul are in communication. I'm sending him documents, and I'm spamming him on Twitter with lots of messages of stuff I want to include in the video. And so it's a work in progress. So I'm excited to announce that video because the last video was hugely successful. Yep. It is the 5th most viewed video on his channel with 182,000 views. So, hey, I'm hoping for a repeat. Hello, Randolph. Can you
Hello.
Hear us? Can we hear you? Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. I always come in muted because I don't want to be disruptive.
That's good. That's a good idea.
How have you been, Randolph? How have you been going?
Pretty good. We had another contentious stream this morning, live stream, because theists want to control the narrative as part of setting up how they're going to come in and convince us that a deity exists. It's always that struggle is very common.
Was it the panel this morning? I didn't see that going when I got in. What time did it start?
0800 Pacific time. And that's morning for people who are on AM PM time. I'm actually going to be running a stream on Wednesday morning at 0700 Pacific time for Atheist Appreciation Day. It's October 5th, and I'm going to be delving into exploring well over 250 YouTube channels by atheists, including both of yours. You're in the list.
Oh, thank you. Oh, that's what the list is for. Look, you said I was on a list and I was too scared to ask what court of lead. I thought it was a no-fly list or something. I just assumed.
I'm trying my best to make sure everybody's in there, but if I miss anyone, I'll do it again next year. But literally hundreds of channels. There's over 250. I think it's about 270 altogether right now. So it's actually not well over, but it's a little bit over. But the 250 I mentioned, but it's going to take a little while because I'm going to go look at every channel live and look at each of the tabs. So any atheists who are on this list, make sure your YouTube channels are looking the way you want them to, because we're going to show them off on Wednesday. I'm going to look at each of the tabs too and look at playlists, look at community tab, things like that. And I've been pretty active with my community tab on mine. So
I think my channel's looking about as good as I can get it. I think.
Excellent. And I think after this, I may.
That's sort of the limits of my case.
And after I do this, I was thinking I'll probably end up making a stream at some point to give people suggestions on the different things they can do to organize their channels and make them more presentable for audiences to be able to find things. Because YouTube does provide a lot of functionality, as I know Atheist Junior already knows all this.
Yeah.
You've done tremendous research into that. I remember before you started your channel, you're asking everybody for advice. It was a very smart move, I think.
Absolutely. There is a wealth of information out there. And I think myself, I have to be less afraid to ask people for their time. Everyone in the community is so generous and supportive and really wonderful people. And I think... I kind of am hesitant because I mean Peter's done a lot of work for me. He's just an amazing guy, and he helps a ton of people. And I really hopefully I can learn this stuff and then pass it on to somebody, pay it forward, kind of thing. I think that's a really lovely sentiment.
Yeah, I just posted in the private chat the link. If it's okay with you, I'll post it in the public chat for people for the upcoming live stream.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm Atheist Appreciation Day is a celebration of diversity, is I think what we need to promote it as. And there's all kinds of different atheism days around the world going on. So we have a whole bunch of them. Hey, we're a diverse demographic. What do we expect, right? We're going to all conform to one? No, absolutely not. Some of us are going to celebrate all of them. But hey, getting on with Apologia is really great. And a second time, excellent work, man. I think that's a really good indicator because he's a high quality content producer. So being hooked up with him is really excellent. I'm very happy for you. That's great.
And he does some amazing work as well.
Yes,
like
yeah, definitely. Well, Apologia, when we did that video, I was under 1,000 subs, and that put me over that milestone. So I was hugely grateful to him because that meant I could monetize the channel. You know what I mean? It was very exciting for me, and my subs tripled after that video came out. A ton of my subscriber base is from Apologia's, from that collab. And I just hope that I don't expect the same amount of growth since a lot of people on there already know about my channel, but I'm always trying to grow my brand and my channel. you know, I've done collabs a lot recently. I have another one coming up with Stated Clearly, John Perry of Stated Clearly. I am going to have him on for probably just like a Q&A, where I'm just going to sort of pick his brain about evolution and the videos he makes, because he's a very smart guy. And, you know, going to be taking audience questions. So if you guys can think of any questions that you might have for him, if you've seen his videos, you know, definitely, you know, you can email me those questions, or you can just add them in the comment section. I'll let you guys know when that collab is coming up, but that's going to be a good one, you know, because his videos are so good. If you haven't seen them, definitely check them out.
Yeah, I've looked up ones on evolution and ERVs and things like that. They're really well done in very, very sort of the style he uses is sort of a simplistic cartoon style, but while it's very simple, it's very, very it demonstrates things really well. He does it very, very well.
So I just wanted to say something really quickly, that I talk with Standing for Truth on Facebook Messenger, and I asked him, do you think Kent Hovind has a legitimate degree? He did not answer the question.
Well, of course he didn't.
So I asked him again.
Yeah.
And he says, LOL, I don't really care either way, TBH. Kent is a hard worker, and I have no doubt that he worked hard to get his degree, which I understand the critics would say it's unaccredited. It's not something that I am all that interested in arguing with somebody over. And I don't mean to call Donnie out, but I just think if you're going to have the channel name Standing for Truth, then working hard, the truth should matter more than if somebody worked hard or not. So is the degree legit or not? Did they work hard or not? The truth is it legit or not? I don't care if they worked hard. How hard you worked degrees are hard to get, full stop. You're going to work hard if you get a PhD. I don't like, that's a given. You know what I mean?
He didn't work as hard as he should have, because apparently all he did was transcribe his talk on evolution, basically, I believe it was. He just transcribed something he'd already done. So that is not what a doctorate is. That is not a dissertation at all. That isn't working as hard as you should do to get a dissertation. It's just simply transcribing something you've said before. You know, I'm really sorry. I'm not that wasn't hard work to come up with it, but that's not what a dissertation is. I'm really sorry, mate. So to sort of play devil's advocate, or Donnie's advocate, I guess, in this case, he is the biggest name on Donnie's channel, without a doubt. Like, there's no comparison there, and he's going to protect him, even though obviously in good conscience he can't say, hey, the degree is legitimate, it's a real degree, because he knows it isn't. He knows that that's an unaccredited university. He knows that it's not an accredited doctorate, and therefore you know, Dr. Hovind is not in fact a doctor. But he can't say that, because Dr. Hovind, it sounds stupid even saying it, is his biggest name and brings in so much money for him. That's just the fact of the matter. It's a bit weird that you know, someone called Standing for Truth cares more about income than, you know, actual fact. But at the same time, I understand that. I think there was somebody quoted that says it's extraordinarily hard to convince somebody of something when their livelihood depends on it not being true. And to a certain degree it does, because that's Donnie's champion horse. It's his. And I don't mean that he actually runs well. I mean that he brings in money. So, you know. Hello, Big Bad Mama. How are you?
I apologize. I don't know why my headphones are lagging like crazy. So I didn't hear a word you said, Mark.
Oh, thank you.
Big Bad Mama, I was gonna add you, but I had to wait until you turned your webcam off. So I'm so happy that you joined the stream. How are you doing?
I'm good. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I think you've got a little bit of background noise. I don't know if you have a mic or
I don't know how to deal with that yet.
are you on your phone?
No, I'm on my laptop. Let me mute and then I'll try to work on it.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
not too bad.
It sounds fine. It's just like some little bit of like background hum. It's not a big deal. But yes, I'm very excited to have Big Ben Mama on, who's been a huge help in some of the behind the scenes stuff I've been doing on my channel, help me script out some videos and write some notes. And it's just a really good resource. And just, we have fun conversations, we text, so that's fun.
Oh, Aaron said that. Aaron said that. Thank you, Justin. I didn't know that. Yeah, I completely agree with that sentiment. I do. And Gur's saying for Leo to get in the stream. I think Gur should get in the stream and answer, because Gur's been giving me crap because apparently I've been dodging Jill. So Gur,
Well, I have the link pinned.
don't be a coward. Don't be a coward, Gur. Stand up to Miss Gur. Get on it. Aussie teddy bear. Yeah, that would be a koala, Gur. There's a name for that. I love Gur. Gur's awesome.
Koalas. Did you lose a war against them?
No, that was the emus. Unfortunately, that was. Look, we don't like to talk about that. Okay.
Oh,
all right.
I'm sorry.
So the Great Emu War of Western Australia, the state I live in. Does anyone know this story? Nobody knows the story. Okay.
I'm familiar with it, but I thought it was a joke. I thought it was like an Onion article.
No, it's not. It's 100% not. It's the Great Emu War of Western Australia. So basically, the emus were getting out of control, eating tons of crops. They were a menace and a plague upon our society. So basically, the Western Australian government, my state government, declared war on the emus. And we got a couple of Bren guns, I think, and a whole ton of ammo. Now, the problem was that the emus were incredibly smart and incredibly fast. And when they sort of lumbered in with these machine guns, the emus were smart enough to recognize what was going to happen, and they'd just take off, and they'd try to shoot them, but they were just too fast. So basically, our side ran out of ammo for the emus, and the emus won. So yes, we lost a war against emus.
Well, I mean, when America went to war in World War II, we put our entire lifestyle on hold to produce the munitions and the bullets and the resources that we needed to win the fight. If you can't shoot, pay for the bullets. If you can't pay for the bullets, then carry the wounded. If you can't do that, then, do something. I don't know. Do something. Okay. Just shoot a teacher that's teaching evolution. I don't know. That's what Kent says. You know what I mean? I can't be held responsible for things Kent says. But we really did. You know what I mean? So the reason that you have the famous feminist icon of Rosie the Riveter is because women were put to work, because all the men were off fighting the war. Yeah. So, that's what that means when that poster, when it says we can do it too, it's because what they actually had to. We put children to work. We put children inside torpedoes. I'm not sure about that last one, but we did a lot. So you got to do what you got to do to win against the emus. That's what I'm saying. I've lost my train of thought, but you got to do what you got to do to win against those birds.
Australia, no one cares that much, mate. This is different country. Yeah, okay. That's a huntsman. Those you actually find in your house, and they are that big. They are massive.
And it's true that only the females have the handbags, just like the meme says.
No, but seriously, they're probably about bigger than your hand, these spiders, and you'll find them up in a corner or on the roof or something, just sitting there. I actually like them because they eat smaller spiders. Like some of the poisonous ones are pretty dangerous. So they're not poisonous, and they eat other spiders, so they're not too bad. You just sort of shoot them outside. Yeah, they're cool.
when we find spiders in our home, we take them out and put them in the garden somewhere, and they seem to be quite happy, spinning webs on the bushes and keeping our plants safe. The caption on this meme, for people who can't see it, is this is a rare photo of the banded Australian huntsman. This is a female. Males don't have the handbag. And the picture there, it looks like it's holding a handbag.
So I can't leave this alone. Go says the Benadryl I took earlier is kicking in. I'm drowsy. I won't be able to add anything except incoherent babbling and possibly falling asleep in a few minutes later. Ger, that's your usual contribution.
Yeah, I don't see the difference.
I don't.
I mean, Germania, it's like I say no brainia. That's what I call it.
Oh, wow.
Got him.
Shots fired.
But to answer this question, why is Kent wearing a hat so much? First of all, what's wrong with wearing a hat? But I think Kent shaved his head. Like, he posted a picture with a big bald spot. No offense, Mark. No offense.
Why would I take offense?
Because you're no reason.
My haircut is bald spot, mate. That's my entire thing. Yeah, that's cool.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It seems like he's shaved his head because he looks like he doesn't even have sideburns. You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know, man. Yeah. Kent's videos are just getting more and more weird.
They are. Yeah.
They're really weird. They're like sexual and like aggressive and hostile.
Sexual? He must be getting really desperate for ratings.
He's making a lot of videos about animal sex.
He probably needs to watch the right kind of porn. I'm guessing he's watching the wrong kind.
Ken Hovind has never watched porn a day in his life. He's also never tasted alcohol. He did have NyQuil once, which means he has tasted alcohol. But he's never watched porn. He's watched porn as many times as he's tasted alcohol. Snake was right in the chat.
Yeah, I think that if he is going bald, he should just shave his head. Like, so when I like, because male pattern baldness is a thing. It happens. It's fine. Like, I started to go bald, and I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? And I used products, and I think the best thing that I ever did was just accept it and shave my head and just go on. It's not. Like, you think it's really horrible. It's not. It's fine. It's all good. You just, and now I haven't had to pay for a haircut in like so long. The upside is so good. If it rains, I don't care because I have no hairstyle to ruin. It's actually great. I'm so happy. I think that if I could somehow make my chin and facial hair go away so I don't have to shave all the damn time, that would be great too. I could grow a beard, but my wife doesn't like beards. So, therefore I don't like beards. So,
dude, I hate my haircut. Like, my hair is literally in my face constantly. I hate it.
You can change that, right?
Yeah, but like, I went and got it cut. Like, I really don't want to have to demonstrate, but I will.
Okay. You don't have to. It's fine.
I'll show you.
It's fine. No, you don't have to.
Like, look at this.
Okay.
This is how my hair is right now.
Right. You can change
so
that.
Annoying. I hate it. I literally went to get it cut, and I said, "I just make sure that you cut my bangs so they're not my face." And he literally cut everything but that.
Wow, that's an epic misunderstanding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
it's like asking for a sandwich, but everything but tomatoes, and like all you get is like a stack of tomatoes underneath the thing.
Like, it's so annoying. Like, when I was doing a debate, there was people in the chat like saying, like, I don't like Atheist Junior's haircut. Like, what does that have to do with anything? People are weird, dude.
Yeah,
they're weird.
I don't know. I think people feel very connected to the people that they see on YouTube. They feel like they know them, kind of thing. And I get that, because like I've watched a lot of people like Matt Delahunty. I used to watch Atheist Experience, pardon the pun, but religiously, kind of thing. And you kind of feel very connected to those people.
Mhm.
So you would say things that you wouldn't say to a stranger because you feel like you know them, and you have to remind yourself, hey, I don't really know these people at all. Like I have no idea, what's going through them. And I think lately I did that with Tom Jump. I kind of went, well, he's doing this, he's doing that. I can't understand it. Why would I? I've only met Tom Jump like once or twice. I don't. Whatever he's doing, there may be other stuff that's going on in his life, and I wouldn't know. But when you do watch a lot of somebody, you feel like you feel that connection to them, which is very weird. I have to remind myself, that I'm not connected to these people. Yeah, it's very strange. I agree, Dan. It's very, very strange.
Yeah, Jerry Only from the Misfits. That guy is actually going bald though. Like that, I can't fucking pull that off. So I'm not gonna do that.
Leo, welcome to the stream.
Welcome, Leophilius.
How's it going? I'm surprised.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how high is Leo?
I don't really rate it in terms of scale.
I'm just kidding.
He's probably more on a bell curve, that academic.
It's like a percentage.
Well, it's fine. It's all good.
No. We support all walks of life on my stream.
All of them. What about runs of life? Crawls of life? Sprints of life?
I don't like the word runs. That has some bad connotations.
How are you, Leo? How are you feeling?
I'm all right. Speaking of high, I'm actually about to spark this up. I'm surprised we got Snake is in the chat, but not in the stream. I understand why Dr. Dan's not in the stream, because I'm pretty sure he's on the East Coast and it's 10 o'clock Central Time. So,
yeah,
and he works at a university, so
that's true.
And then Gurr wants to be a little bitch, I guess. Little bitch Gurr.
Dude, I don't like
Too bad.
You're not saying mean to Gurr. Is it because
he's just going to end up in this live stream? Is that your intention, Leo?
Yeah. Yes, it is. That is explicitly. That is manifestly my intention.
Oh, that's funny.
So, Nidamos is here.
Leo, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
How can we achieve a more equitable society and a better financial system in the United States?
Well, it's really going to depend on who you ask ultimately. For me, I'm going to say that most of it's going to be rooted in things that I'm not going to mention specifically here. Holy shit, did I really just do 20.3k damage? God damn. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm playing Wizard 101. Anyway, it's so I think that
it's awesome.
The two primary things to me are going to be socialization and democratization of the productive forces and a decommodification of the markets in which they operate. So that's essentially to say that the productive forces, I mean, that is kind of a self-explanatory term, but just for anybody that might not know, it's just the ways that humans produce things, the technological capacity that humans have for producing the things that they need to continue to survive. And then obviously commodification is the concept of selling things on a market for a profit.
So is that just another term for the means of production?
Yes, productive forces and means of production mean effectively the same thing.
And what was the other thing you said?
A decommodification of the markets in which our productive forces operate. Essentially, things are no longer sold on markets for profit. So like the energy you use to power your house, you wouldn't have to buy it. The food that you eat, you wouldn't have to buy it. You wouldn't. There wouldn't be what is effectively, quite frankly, a paywall behind the things that humans ultimately need for survival.
Like,
but how would you motivate innovation without having the profit motivator there?
The
Star
same way that humans did it before there was the profit incentive. Well, not specifically, but I guess I don't know like specifically how that's going to be done. I don't really claim to know that, but I do think that it is blatantly obvious that, in fact, for most of history, humans were capable. I don't think the Egyptians built the pyramids because they were going to make a lot of money doing it. Now, granted, people might say, but they had slaves do it. Sure, but they didn't do it because they were making money. So humans have always done things without the profit motive. Look, we especially see this with intellectual endeavors. Albert Einstein, Richard Feynman. Now, some of these men may have made money, maybe like writing books, being authors more so than being scientists, because let's get real here. Science does not make you rich. But so I guess I would just reject the idea that we're going to need a profit incentive to motivate innovation, or that's the best way to do so. I think that honestly, I'm sorry, no, go ahead.
I would agree with generally like coming up with innovative ideas, yes, but I'm more talking about technological and innovation in the realm of productive capacity. I don't.
Wait, you mean like a capacity to advance the productive forces?
Correct. I don't think that the robotics industry would have come as far if the motivation of making more profit would not be there. That's my example.
I think YouTube is a good example, because if you look at how a lot of YouTubers work, like how I did it, is you put the content out for free. There's not a paywall. And then if enough people see it and want to support it, then you have basically people who are supporting monetarily, but you put it out for free first. And I think you could apply that same sort of idea to other things.
But that isn't what Leo's advocating for.
I know, but I want it, like, I am like
he would be saying
behind you guys.
He would be saying that you're putting it out for free and it's always free, like you wouldn't make a profit off of it.
Well,
yeah, that's
not necessarily.
That sounds a lot like a Star Trek future, which I think is a good.
We also have to keep in mind that it's not just that I'm saying that we should decommodify things, but we have to keep in mind the first thing that I said is very important to that. We don't need to commodify things if our societies aren't centered around profit to begin with.
Right. See, it's
if we democratize,
free.
Yeah.
It's not just that.
If you sort of communalized and democratized the productive forces, then I just don't think that we would need the concept of commodification.
But then the problem becomes that you have no incentive to make the productive forces more efficient and
I think we do. And that would be I think that the what's going to incentivize that is the further elimination of human labor in order to make the things that humans need. Let's all be real. Humans don't want to have to labor to make the things that humans need. That's why humans have technologically advanced to begin with. I don't think it has to do with, I'm going to make money. I think that that's like a tangential to the primary reason that humans have technologically advanced throughout all of their history, because they're trying to reduce the necessity of human labor to the production of the things that they need.
Right.
That's the motivation.
If you're thinking about it in a communal system, it's like everybody is going to provide what they are able to, and the incentive to provide what you can to others within that commune is that you are getting help from other people. So you can't, you don't want to be a leech, basically. So like when you like eat food from the grocery store, like you didn't grow it, you didn't farm the food and like harvest it and drive the truck to the grocery store. You didn't do all these things. Like other people have to do these things in a society. But I think in I don't know, socialism or like, communism is kind of a scary word, but in these types of
communism,
you're
going to lose 500 subscribers, AJ.
I guess my point is that if you diversify the output of production to everybody, you basically diversify.
Wait, what?
Well, you're talking about like, you produce things and then it goes to the rest of humanity. Your resources that you're producing aren't being centralized in any one individual or any one group of individuals responsible for that business, right? It's sort of a worker owned.
I kind of think it's already that way. I mean, for the most part, I think the output of our economies is largely much more social than well, so this depends on what are you referring to, capital output or productive output, because those are not the same thing.
Well, capital output, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, capital output is very highly centralized. I think that's a glaring issue in our societies today.
Well, I think it's a massive problem. Yes, I do agree that it's a massive problem, the wealth inequality. And don't get me wrong, I don't touch economic stuff because I'm not that great with it. But I would proffer an argument that because the capital is centralized in certain groups or individuals of groups who have an incentive to make more profit, it rises that they try to innovate to make that production more efficient. That in a way that
is that why they innovate? Or do they innovate to maximize capital output, and that the advances are merely tangential to that goal? Because that's the way I look at it. I don't think the capitalist innovates for the sake of innovation.
Production output. That's the way that the innovation works. Like robotics.
Well, I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
So capital output is only raised. I mean, that's not the only way it's raised, but the innovation capital output is raised by increasing production output.
Well, so I'm going to say yes in some senses and no in other senses. If there's an increase in variable capital inputs, then I think that you might see an increase in productive outputs, or rather capital outputs. If there's an increase in constant capital inputs, I think that what's going to follow from that is actually a trend downward in capital outputs. This is actually something that many people would know as the tendency of the rate of profit to fall. And at its fundamental core, it's not actually something that most classical economists would even deny.
I'd like to respond to the point Creation Myths made earlier about unions. Thinking unions everywhere is the solution. My understanding is that unions are necessary when you've got management who are unfairly exploiting the workers. I've seen unions that become so powerful that they run the companies and basically, in effect, run the companies and contribute to further dysfunction. So just because they're unions doesn't necessarily mean that they're good. If we actually have a proper system in place, then that would be better, because then you won't need that extra level of unionization there. So, and I'm not against unions. I think they're very necessary in many companies. I just don't think that they're always the right answer.
So what would the proper system look like? Because there's going to be people like myself who are going to say that the mode of production under which humans currently live is intrinsically exploitative.
Leo, are you an anarchist?
No.
Okay.
Well, we're going to see what we see now. You see people who you got the conservative mindset, which is, in very simple terms, is, it didn't happen to me, so I don't care. Whereas the liberal on the other end is saying, this shouldn't happen to anybody. That's why I care. And there tends to be this kind of distortion. I'm talking liberal and conservative in Canadian terms. I understand it's quite different in the U.S. It's almost twisted the other way around. So almost. So I'm sorry if that seems confusing. Liberals are pro-freedom and all this, and the conservatives tend to be very authoritarian and want to privatize everything. They don't like public services. They're against any socialized kind of programs. That's how it is here in Canada. So I think we have this kind of idealism. These ideals aren't compatible. So this is always going to be a problem as long as there's people who don't agree on things. And this is one of the challenges with society, is that's the big $1 million question right there, Leo, is how do we find a solution that'll make everybody happy? And no leader so far has been able to do that. Even Oliver Cromwell, as good as he was, ran into all kinds of problems.
I think.
Let's give Snake a chance to jump in.
Can I just say it's not long.
Snake
wants to say something, but I just wanted to say that.
No. What were you trying to say, Snake?
Wait, I don't. Well, all I was going to say is that the criticisms I would levy transcend the traditional political left-right spectrum. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. Just wanted to provide that clarification.
And the conservatives will come in and say, we need money to measure things, because that's what they always say.
I don't really care what the conservatives say. Most of what they say is really dumb and doesn't align with any economics at all.
And therein lies the challenge with society. Yes. Go ahead, Snake.
Well,
Snake,
so
you
first,
go,
I'll say I have been deathly ill for the past couple of days, so I might sound a little off, but
Oh, hope
hopefully-
you're getting better.
Totally
Yeah.
couldn't notice.
Owner.
but so I don't understand what's exploitative about economic system where you say if you want me to pay you, you have to do something that I want.
Well,
here
I
we go.
mean, have you ever worked at a fast food service? I mean,
Well, it goes
most
deeper than that.
jobs are like mini dictatorships in America. You know,
And,
Well, I think
the amount of pay is significant in this too.
I don't think it, maybe it has something to do with pay. I think it runs deeper than that. So I mean, there's technical reasons why somebody like me is going to consider, like, capitalism as a mode of production to be exploitative. And people like me and Snake are probably just going to have fundamental disagreements about that, which is not that. I mean, that's not a bad thing. That's not wrong or anything like
Well,
that.
I want to know where, like, I know we're gonna have disagreements. I would like to isolate exactly where that disagreement is. Like, I think that's where the
Value. It's going to
productive
be on.
part-
It's going to be on what value is. It's because
Um,
if value is seen as being rooted in labor, and a laborer is always being paid less in some given labor time for some given contribution in labor time than what he produces for the firm in that same time, then the system is just going to be just definitionally be exploitative. But if somebody doesn't take value to be rooted in labor, then they're not going to agree that the system would be exploitative. So the disagreement is going to be on what value is and where value is rooted. And I think value is rooted in labor provided by workers that are hired.
But if you labor something that no one wants, what's the value in that?
Well, I don't think that broadly societies do that. And labor isn't going to be rooted in like what some one
Well, exactly.
individual person
There are
does. It's
tons
going
of
to be
You
jobs
rooted in
wouldn't
like
people
produce
don't have
something that
to
no
do.
one wants.
So
What?
the question is, Kent Hovind labors to produce DVD series. Do they have any value?
what
some people.
what do you mean by
Negative
labor?
value, maybe?
So, I actually don't think that Kent Hovind that there would be value in that, because he's not like reproducing a commodity. So
if
that's
people
not
are willing to pay for it, then
It has
pay for
value.
what?
pay for the DVDs.
What about well, but that would be price, not value to a Marxist.
What's the difference?
Price is going to be the monetary exchange rate of a commodity. The value is the amount of socially necessary labor requisite to the reproduction of that commodity.
You know, Snake, I feel like one thing that jumps out at me is, you can have a capitalist system where there are people who are offering jobs and that are willing to pay people, but it's exploitative if you never raise the minimum wage and inflation goes up and up and up and the cost of living goes up, but
Yes.
you're not paying people more. That's not like that.
That's not inherent.
work-
to the
that's not gonna
capitalist
work.
system.
Well,
that is
I-
inherent
It kind of
to the
is.
capitalist system. No, it isn't.
Yeah,
No.
it's
Wait,
not.
I didn't hear what
it's
Mark
not
said because his
inherent.
mic got suppressed. Could you repeat that, please?
I don't think that's an inherent feature of a capitalist system, that the wage gap and price of living should expand until the wages being paid aren't enough to cover the price. I don't think that's a feature of capitalism. I think it's a feature of US and a lot of other capitalist systems throughout the world at the moment. But I don't think it's intrinsic to a capitalist system. I don't think.
Wait, the difference between wages paid and value to a laborer and value provided by the laborer?
No. The difference between wages paid and the cost of living for that laborer, right?
Okay.
So I guess what AJ is bringing up is that in the US and a lot of other countries out there, that the cost of living is far getting way higher than the minimum wage kind of thing. So that's where inflation is driving cost higher, but the minimum wage isn't being lifted to meet that cost of living or that.
Why do you suppose? But why do you suppose that those who own the businesses would not want to raise wages, but would want to raise prices?
Or rent.
for greater profit?
What was that?
Greater profit. I mean,
Yeah. Why are they seeking profit? Why does it seem that profit is what they're seeking over other things?
That's what everyone
Because
wants.
Well, profit is sort of gives you the ability to access resources in our
Economic
society.
capital, right?
Mo
Right,
money,
right,
mo
capital.
bitches, Leo.
And what can you
Well,
do with economic capital? If you can gain economic capital,
Yeah.
massive amounts of it via owning the means of production, then you don't have to labor yourself to earn a living. You're living off of the people that you're hiring to labor for you. That's why you hire them. Ultimately,
Well,
every worker hired by a
not
business is there so that the
necessarily the
executives
case.
don't have to do that labor.
That's not necessarily the case, because the executives still have to labor to organize and set up all of this stuff. In a
Yeah.
lot of cases, the
I don't see that as
CEO
labor.
the
They're
CEO
generally
is the
pilots.
hardest working person in the company in some
Yeah, but
cases.
Elon Musk
I
isn't
don't
making
agree with that.
Teslas though.
I don't think that the executives are the hardest working. I think that
In
it's
some
I
cases,
would say
is
it's
what I said.
Not
Well, they're
but
generally working
literal
longer
hard
hours.
work, like backbreaking
Yeah.
work. I don't think so.
But
I
I don't
also
think
don't
that's
agree that they generally work longer hours.
I don't
I
think
think
that
you people are
labor is-
conflating like the guy
I-
who owns a local construction company with like the CEO of McDonald's. The guy that owns a local construction company isn't like a CEO. He's not even an owner. So first off, for somebody like me, and I can only really speak for myself here, I'm a Marxist. So when I say an owner, I don't mean the guy who owns a local construction company. I don't
you're
even
like
mean
shareholders,
I
yeah.
don't even mean the franchisee who owns the local McDonald's in your town. I'm talking about the Jeff Bezos, the Warren Buffetts, the Elon Musks, the
No,
Bill
I get what you're
Gates of
saying.
the
I get
world.
what you're
That
saying. But you're
those are
saying the
owners.
shareholders, the ones that do get the profit.
Yes, the
are
ones that
shareholders.
own.
Yeah,
Correct.
there are
Yeah.
differences, but there, if you can't manage a business like at any
No,
scale,
no,
then it
Shareholders
will
don't do
fall
that.
apart.
Let's try to go one at a time.
He's not talking about the people that manage the business. He's talking about the people who actually get the profit, which is the shareholders in a corporation.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. At any scale, if the executives can't manage it at the corporate scale, it will fall apart, because corporations do fall apart because of poor management. And
Yeah, poor management.
if the
But
local
have we ever seen them fall
manager
apart
can't
because of
do it-
lack of?
what's that?
Because I don't think that in the absence of like a corporate executive structure to a company that it would completely collapse.
I mean,
Well,
Enron
companies
fell
fail
apart
all
because
the
of
time.
greed.
Well, yeah, I think companies do fail, but I don't think that's because of a lack of some structure. I think it's because they have a structure and it's poor, but not because they're lacking one. In an instance where they were lacking one, I think the workers would honestly end up creating another one. We see this all the time. Like CEOs can be exchanged, whole ass companies can merge, and like it really doesn't mean anything for the average worker, because a lot of this stuff is far more conceptual than what the actual workers do for companies, because these people aren't really doing anything.
Yeah,
And even so, the management that they're
say,
supposed to be doing is pawned
people
off
like-
to all their accountants and their
people like Elon
secretaries
Musk,
and everybody
they
else.
literally do nothing. They do nothing. They do
Well, I
nothing.
agree that the shareholders
What you're
do
saying,
not
though,
do labor. I agree with that. So I do see what Leo's point is, that the people that benefit from profit is shareholders who literally do nothing except invest capital into the company in the first place. I have some concerns over why would you invest capital, but I realize that, Leo, that you're saying you should have a capitalist system, but why should you invest resources that you have in order to get resources back? It seems like you're saying that, hey, no investing of resources in prospects at all, because there's no point to.
Well, when we talk about monetary investment, I think that's something that would only exist under some form of some system rooted in class society like capitalism.
Right.
I don't think humans need that. I think humans can socially manage and democratically control the means of production, just like we are at least supposed to be doing with our government institutions, which I would actually argue the large reason that our even our government apparatuses, our bureaucratic apparatuses, aren't democratic fully, at least, is because of their influence by those who hold all of the economic capital to operate in their interest, which nearly exclusively comes to the detriment of societies broadly.
So I think there's some truth to what, there's some truth to what you're getting at. But what you're basically saying, it seems to me, is that the CEO position is completely interchangeable with anyone. Like, there's no way you can fail at it because you could just put anyone.
Well,
there.
I don't think I'm saying that. I'm saying more
yeah.
that it's an unnecessary. I don't think that like
so
we
why
need
put-
one person to manage that. Like,
So why
I think
put someone
workers, yeah, because of the capitalist mode of production.
Because
why
who
wouldn't
else
the
is
rest of the
doing all
board
this
just
Capitalism
take the
capitalism is a
CEOs?
hierarchical mode of production. It's
Yeah,
autocratic. That's
so
why
why
these
wouldn't the rest
positions exist.
So
But
why
with
wouldn't the
proper-
rest of the board just take all that salary they're going to pay to the CEO and keep it for themselves if no one needs to hold that position, or if
Oh,
they can handle
Because
it themselves?
CEOs usually do own shares, so they're
Oh,
that is
well,
something.
actually, the way it works is the CEOs get paid a lot. So do the board members. It may not be obvious. There's different ways it happens. Expenses are taken care of. And then, of course, a CEO is interchangeable when delegation is done properly, is practiced properly.
But my criticism isn't going to be that like CEOs like don't do anything. My criticism is going to be CEOs don't contribute value.
Yeah, my complaint is that
I
they're a
would
bunch of rich
disagree.
perverts. Who,
Well, but see, what I mean by
don't
value
disagree
is
with
again
that point.
probably different from what most people mean as value. I mean something very specific when I talk about value.
Well, contributing
Okay,
labor
okay.
hours, basically, right?
Well, the amount of socially necessary labor requisite to the reproduction of a physical commodity.
Well,
Well,
so
that's
so
just
if
sort of saying
if the product would change, sorry, Mark.
Yeah, I just that sounds like, well, my system doesn't need that, so it's not doesn't have any social value. But the system that we've got,
I didn't
needs
say so. I'm not
that.
talking about social value. Social value is not what I mean by value.
Yeah, I was going to make a similar point. Like, if the product would change, wouldn't this position be necessary to create that product?
I don't know if I understand what it is you're asking.
So this position would be necessary, socially necessary, to create whatever is being created.
What do you mean by position? What position would be necessary for what?
Let's just take the CEO position of any X company. If you eliminated that and the end product changed, or the profits went down or up or whatever, well, I guess, if you could eliminate it and the product would stay the same, then I would agree with you. But if you eliminated it and the product changed and the company fell apart or came into hard times, then wouldn't that be socially necessary labor?
I don't think so, no. Well, first off, it's not socially necessary labor. It's socially necessary labor requisite to the reproduction of a physical commodity. Like, so salespeople labor, but they're not laboring in ways that reproduce physical commodities. So they don't actually, what they do is not value adding to the products that they sell. I think everybody recognizes this. When a salesperson sells the products they're selling, that doesn't make them more valuable. What salespeople do isn't value adding, and that's because value is rooted in reproductive labor.
I definitely disagree with you on that. For salespeople, I mean, if a salesperson's doing something right, they are targeting the person's needs and finding the product that they need. They are actually adding value by.
But what do you mean by value? I don't think you mean by value what I mean by value. I think that's
the problems, I think. But
I have a question for Leo. What do you think makes an iPhone valuable?
The amount of socially necessary labor requisite to its reproduction as a commodity.
The amount of labor it took to create that phone.
The amount of socially necessary labor requisite to its reproduction as a commodity. But I would also say an iPhone can't be reproduced. An iPhone can't actually be reproduced the way that, like, say, a 2x4 piece of lumber for the construction of a house can be, because there's only one. I need to fully express the point here, because there's only one company that sells iPhones, and that's Apple. Mm-hmm. So iPhones aren't. I mean, there's like a really, really, really strict way in which they are reproduced by specifically Apple, or I think it's actually Foxconn that makes the phones. But iPhones are specifically an Apple product. This is what Marx would understand as a monopoly. So iPhones aren't actually reproduced because only one company can make them. Now, a piece of lumber for construction in your house can be reproduced because there's many companies that make 2x4s and 2x12s and what have you.
There's many companies.
I think Samsung actually makes the screens for the iPhone.
I think I would link value more economic rather than socially? Because when you sort of say
I think
socially, you're
economics are
talking about a social system that is sort of more does not have an economic system in the way that we have it at the moment. You're talking about a social system under socialism or communism
No.
kind of thing.
No, how value is defined. The labor theory of value is not some separate theory for what we ought to do. That's not what it is. It is an analysis of the capitalist mode of production. That's what it is. And I'm going to use some flowery language here, but I think it helps paint the picture. It's a sort of a way to look at the capitalist mode of production and sort of derive its equations of motion. So a Marxist is actually going to say that how I've defined value is what it is under a capitalist mode of production.
Okay, so let me give you an example and see if you can fit value to this, because I'm not sure I'm getting what you're sort of laying on the line here. So I'm a salesperson. I sell modems, routers, and other switches, networking devices, right? You come to me and you go, okay, I need to do this. And I take time to understand exactly what your needs are, what you're trying to do, how secure it needs to be, what kind of distribution system it needs to happen, how many hosts you're putting up, and like basically give you a rundown of the products that are required for you to get that implemented. Am I adding value as a salesperson?
Well, it depends on what you mean by value. See, the
Well,
problem
under your
is,
definition,
under my definition, no,
yeah,
not.
yeah.
Under my definition, no.
So why should that work of me understanding what they need, and then because they're coming to me to ask me, hey, I need you to tell me what I need to do X, Y, Z, right? Why is that not providing value?
Because it is not the reproduction of a physical commodity at some time and some place.
But without it, the person couldn't do what they need to do.
I don't deny that. That's not in contention. I'm not contending that. I'm simply saying that selling objects doesn't make them more valuable. It's not value adding. If that were the case, the minute you sell a car, the price would go up, but it doesn't. It drops.
But it creates jobs and creates
Sure, but that's
people.
just not what I mean by value. Value isn't creation of jobs. I've defined what I mean by value.
But that's what we mean by value, and most people mean by value.
Wait, so you define value as the creation of
confusing.
jobs? Job creation is what you
Leo,
mean.
It's valuable, yeah.
The whole
I didn't
point
ask if job creation is valuable. I asked if job creation is your definition of value.
No, but to that person, right, to that person who's looking for things, the value of a product that does not fit their needs is even like terrible. But what I've done is added to the value of what they actually need. I've pointed out what I don't understand why.
Yeah, that's just not what value means in the labor theory of value.
Well,
So why use the word value?
Because value has a specific usage.
Which is not the same as the labor theory of value as it is in normal English.
I don't know what that means.
The way you're using it sort of suggests that there's individuals that are not like CEOs. You're basically saying they don't add to value kind of thing. And it sounds very dismissive of what they do and what salespeople do.
Well, I'm not saying that what they do isn't requisite to an economy. I'm saying it's not value adding. See, the problem is when you hear me say value, you think I mean it in like some broader, philosophical sense of like sort of utility. You can't look at it that way. Value does not mean utility in this sense. I am not denying the utility, in fact, the necessity of jobs of service jobs, salespersons, but they're not value adding under the labor theory of value because of how it defines value.
Well, yeah, because there are products that people like that don't serve much utility, but they still like it, like a painting.
Yeah, that would be some sort of utility. Like aesthetic value, but that's not value by what I mean.
But why'd you use the word value then?
Because the thing is, the word value doesn't have like one set definition. If I define what I mean by it, I don't see what the problem is. I mean, and I think I've done quite well in defining what I mean by value.
I think you just get further by having like a qualifier, like labor value.
I don't know what you mean.
Well,
Well, I mean, there
labor
are qualifiers. There's labor value, exchange value, use value. I have no problem in like distinguishing between those if you need me to.
So I think that some, like, I get what you're saying, and I get your I agree. Value is very, very polysemous. It has multiple meanings. I get that, right? And I understand what you're saying by value. What I don't sort of get is the idea that sort of these jobs aren't necessary, because if they have
No. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying they're not necessary. Again, remember, I am not saying these jobs are not necessary. I'm not saying they don't have utility. I'm saying they're not value adding under the definition of value given by the LTV, which is the socially necessary labor requisite to the reproduction of a physical commodity. So if somebody's not like sawing timber, into planks, then they're not doing labor. If all you do is drive the truck that delivers it, you're not reproducing a commodity. You're just driving it places. That nobody in the LTV is going to say that, oh, we don't need people to do that, or what they're doing isn't important, necessary, utilitous, valuable in some broader philosophical sense. But with respect to what value means in the LTV, which is rooted in the reproduction of a physical commodity, a truck driver doesn't reproduce physical commodities. They ship the commodities.
That's socially necessary to get it to certain locations.
Yeah, but it's not the reproduction. See, you're focused on the first part, but not the second part. Socially necessary labor requisite to the reproduction of a physical commodity.
Right. But why, if this is a criticism of capitalism, why not use
analysis? I mean, we derive criticisms from the analysis. What? Wait, what?
If this is a criticism of capitalism, why not use the definitions that capitalism?
Well, what I would argue, and what most Marxists would argue, is that capitalism doesn't actually have a definition of value. The way that the LTV usually utilizes value, they're going to say is an objective measure of what value is in the capitalist mode of production.
Well, in a capitalist production, value is dependent upon demand.
Yeah,
I don't think so. Well, I mean, not maybe in some like indirect sense, because in the LTV, it's going to say that value is postulated as a theoretical unobservable to explain long-run equilibrium prices in economies. So supply and demand are going to relate to this, but the question that's going to be asked is why are those equilibrium prices the equilibrium prices? The LTV has an answer. A capitalist can't answer that question.
It fails to explain the price of transportation costs.
Correct.
No. Well, it doesn't seek to explain those because that's not like a value-adding thing. But even then, it still could. That price is rooted in the profit-seeking of those who manage the system.
So it's ignoring half the picture.
What is that half of the picture that it is ignoring?
There's value there's capitalist value going on that the LTV.
And what is value in capitalism? How is value defined in capitalism, in neoclassical political economy?
I can't give you like the neoclassical version, but as I understand
just like capitalism and modern economics, not in the LTV. What does value mean?
Supply and demand is a pretty good way.
I don't think I can hear you.
Well, yeah, but that's how we measure it. That's how we measure it, but that's not a definition. What does it mean?
Anyway,
not how do we measure it?
So I think this topic is sort of reach an impasse. So I am going to pose a question to the panel. It might be shit. So if it is, then you guys just ignore me. But okay. So George Orwell wrote a famous essay claiming that nationalism was the belief that your country was superior to others, while patriotism was the expression of love for your country. Do you think there is a difference, or do you agree that there is a difference?
Perhaps a small one. I'm neither a patriot. And man, I really wish we didn't move on because we were just getting to the juicy part, the part where people can never define what value is in neoclassical political economics. Anyway,
Leo. I think that value under a capitalist system is just, it's kind of what you're saying, that it's a labor like by replication of commodities, but I think they just also include the labor by non-replication of commodities. So,
well, then it can't mean what I mean.
Well, yeah, but it includes what you mean, but also is the external services like the person driving the truck or the person doing the sales and things like that. It just includes all of those things that you're excluding. But what I don't get is why, if you're going an internal critique to
Value is
capitalism,
just labor simplicator?
include the labors that capitalism would include in that value proposition.
Well, but see, you just told me that its definition of value includes things that I don't, but you didn't give me what that definition is. Is your definition just labor simplicator?
Well, yeah, labor and it's affected by.
So if I dig a hole, that's valuable under the capitalist mode of production because it's just
like
labor simplicator.
As I just said, it's affected by demand as well and other external factors. So yeah, if you dig a hole, it's valuable. Value may be incredibly low because there is no demand for your hole. If somebody then if you find something down that hole, it's then somebody says, "Hey, there's gold in their holes," then that hole becomes valuable.
Okay, yeah, this isn't really helping me understand what value is supposed to mean.
Okay, well we're moving on.
Think of it like, what would you give up to receive something else? It's kind of like how you value something. Would you give up a whole day's labor? Would you give up what in your savings would you give up for that?
Well, that just seems to be like a broader philosophy. Yeah, but again, these are kind of like examples. Like, notice how I gave like a working what I mean when I say value. I didn't just use examples, and that's what I struggle with. Like, I need what do you mean by value? Not examples, not measures of it. What it means. Importance,
worth, or usefulness of something.
Yeah, but I mean, I can accept that, but then that just, I mean, everything could be valuable. Valuable just seems to be so ambiguous then that it doesn't really apply to anything.
Well,
you can value anything.
That also, but like this seems to be turning more to like broader philosophical or like aesthetic usages of value.
Like I said, I'm not big on economics, so I don't really find that surprising. I get what you're saying though. I just would think that value is any contribution to the end product of a or the end result of a product, whether that is labor, added stuff or not.
Well, I mean, that kind of is what value is in the labor theory of value. Selling a product isn't like contributing to its manufacture. It's already manufactured and you're just selling it.
Yes, but selling it adds to the end value of that product.
And what do you mean by value here?
Else. Okay, so
it's go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's sort of I mean, it is related to the price of something. So by value, I would mean the total contribution to the end price of a product or service.
So you would consider rents to be value when the capitalist just increases the price by 50 cents to make it cost more to increase his profits. Since that contributes to the end price, that's value?
Well, I think there's external factors in it, like demand.
That might be how much the landowner values his land.
I don't really know what it means. Say land has value. That's weird. Land doesn't labor.
But you just don't understand how we're using value?
Yeah. And I really genuinely, and I'm not saying this to be mean or anything like that, but I'm not getting a solid definition of what you guys mean by value.
Let us think about it, Leo, because I'm
that's
not
fine.
Economics, mate. But to address,
it's not like you're doing something wrong. I just want to clarify.
Yeah, no, I got you, mate. It's no problem. I'm having again, my background is not going to. I'm terrible at economics, so I'm finding it hard to explain what I mean. But I think that I would define value probably much the same as you do. Don't get me wrong. I have no doubt that sort of socially acceptable labor adds value to a product. But I also think value is added by the services that get that product to the end point, like driving a truck or selling it on a market or doing any of the labor associated with providing the product to an end result. I
So
don't see
it seems to
why
me,
the value of something would exclude those things.
so it seems that you're saying something like the value would be not just the labor contributed to the reproduction of a commodity, but the labor contributed by getting it to its customer.
Correct. Yes.
Hmm.
So even marketing would have value to me because it marketing done correctly would inform people of where they can get the product, how they can get the product. It would actually cut down on their labor trying to find the product that they're after. So that's why I think it adds value, and that's why I would use value in that way.
And do you think that value is realized in the price or not?
I think it can be, definitely can be.
Okay. Because it's interesting. I don't think that when a truck driver drives a load of lumber to a job site, that now the lumber is more expensive because of the value that he's added. At least
no,
in the capitalist mode of production, it doesn't seem that be the case. So I guess I would say that if we're including like service, like salespersons, truck drivers into value, then there's going to be an issue there, because why is it then that they don't increase the price? Is their value just not realized? And if so, why is the capitalist not seeking to realize the profit of their value?
That's not true, Leo. If you're sort of pricing a project, for instance, you're doing project estimations, for instance, and you have, say you buy labor off of a company that will drive it out there, you'll have one price for that. But you do have to factor in if you do need to transport those materials. So that will be factored in the estimation for that company. The price,
this is done before it's delivered.
So if I say I value services that deliver resources to me, like, you don't know what that means at all?
If you said I value resources that deliver things to me, no, I would understand what you mean.
Services that
what I would
deliver
understand you to mean by value there is just different than what value means in the LTV.
But you do understand what we mean by it, right? If I put it
in that instance, yeah, and it's just different than what you mean in the LTV. But I also wouldn't consider that usage of value to be like what value would mean under like a capitalist mode of production, because I don't think it actually has a working definition of value.
Well, I must admit that Snape's term of value is very subjective kind of thing. So it matters what. But I think
economics demand is very subjective.
Yeah, no, I get you. But I think that's more demand. So if I really, really want something, right, I would factor that into the value of a product to make the price, but that's a different thing. That's the demand that it has. Yeah? Am I wrong in that?
Wait, saying that like when demand increases, the price increases? I wouldn't deny that.
Yeah, but value increases.
Well, no,
I don't think that demand increases value. I think it increases price, but I don't think it increases value.
Yeah, because it just say somebody really, really, does it increase the value? Does demand increase the actual value of something?
I think it depends on what is meant by value.
Beanie Babies used to be more valuable. Baseball cards gain value as they age. Things can appreciate or depreciate in value.
I think that Snake is.
I'm okay with
your definition of value is completely different. I get what you're saying. I get what you're both saying, actually. Yeah,
we are using different definitions.
Yeah. No, I get that. It's.
I don't know what your definition is yet, to be completely honest.
Well, here's in economics, economic value is the measure of a benefit provided by a good or service to the economic agent. Does that make any sense?
A benefit provided by a good or service. Yeah, that's just okay. Yeah. It doesn't really tell me much.
So something like life-saving medicine may not be expensive, but it has a huge amount of value, right? Would I be right in saying that?
There's some sense in which it has value. I don't think it. I mean, the sense in which it has economic value is only going to be, I think, given in terms of the labor that's used to produce it. But
I think we agree value and price are variable. There's some correlation there, but I think we can agree that they're not the same thing.
I don't think
Yeah, I don't
Leo
think price and value are the same thing.
I don't think that Leo would say that the value is variable, though. I mean, it seems to be, from his perspective, a set.
Well, value can vary, yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, with the cost of the materials and stuff. But I guess what Snake's sort of saying is that Snake's sort of saying
I would
that
think value would vary as a result of either increases or decreases in the amount of labor to reproduce the commodity.
Right. There are variables there, right? What Snake's saying is that value can increase or decrease based upon the perception of somebody, right? Am I right in saying that, Snake?
Yeah, that's part of it.
Right. That's what he said.
Wait, I'm sorry. One more time?
Value can vary depending on the perception of somebody, like the economic agent that is obtaining the product. It can vary basing on their simple perception of the value being greater or lower.
I mean, I think I can agree with that, but that just doesn't seem to be like an economic. That seems to be like some sort of philosophical notion of value.
Sure. Yeah.
And this is going to be the problem. Is like with the definition that Snake provided. Well, can I ask where that was from? Because I feel like I've read that. Was that from Investopedia?
I think it's just from Wikipedia. I just Googled economic value definition.
Okay.
Okay.
Because when I heard it doesn't.
These are just the general understandings of how value is used in general, like colloquially.
I think it's usage, but it doesn't tell me anything about like the economy and how it works. That's why I'm just a little. It's just a little confusing to me.
But with your definition, we don't understand why people consider, like, I don't even know what other word to use other than why people value delivery services, why people value diamonds.
What do you mean when you say value those things?
He's talking about his definition,
they see some kind of benefit or gain from that. And like from your perspective, like, okay, if robots created water, it would have zero value because there's no socially necessary labor going into it, versus if it took humans like all day to get one bucket of water.
That would be true, yes.
It has a different value.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we can see this. I think Bic pens would cost a lot more if the ways in which they're produced weren't machinized. If it was actually humans putting them together, I think they'd cost more.
Right, but I think that the value of that Bic pen, I'm not sure that the value would actually increase if it was like a lot more difficult to make them.
Well, no, I'm not necessarily saying more difficult, but if it took like actual human labor, I think they would cost more.
I have to head out, but I will say, labor can increase value for sure. But I think that there are things that the labor theory of value does not consider valuable, which also contribute to value.
Well, when you say contribute to value, I was just going to depend on what you mean by that.
Well, I got to head out, but I'm sure you and I will continue this conversation.
They are never ending, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good to see you, Snake. Thanks for dropping by, man. I really appreciate it. It's so good to talk to you again.
Yeah. Take it easy, Snake. It was good seeing you.
I think I just sent you an email about a possible debate too. So I went through.
Yeah, I have been super sick, so I've just been like completely unplugged. But I'm gonna check everything.
Have you the Rona? Is that? Are you okay? Do you have the Rona?
Oh no, it's not Corona. Some weird cold going around, but
monkey flu.
Yeah, who knows?
Snake flu.
I took several COVID tests, so it's not that.
And I'm assuming they all came back negative, and you're like, oh, okay, it's definitely not this. Wait, maybe on the 8th test, we'll do an 8th.
Yep, that's kind of my logic.
All right, so I hope you feel better, man. I really do. And
I'm already on the upswing, so.
Oh, good stuff. All right, fantastic, mate.
All right, guys. Thanks.
See you later.
See ya. Bye, AJ.
Bye, AJ. AJ's a bit sort of tied up, so I'm taking the stream for the moment. I hope you can put up with me. And thank you again all for staying with us and joining us. I must admit, sort of economics is not my strong point, so I do apologize, Leo. I really, Yeah, that's all right. I think to AJ's question about patriotism versus nationalism kind of thing, I do know that exceptionalism does lead to sort of nationalism, while patriotism, I think there's almost no differentiation between the two, right? It's sort of, it seems a natural progression. If you love your country that much, you just automatically assume it's better than all other countries. Not necessarily, I guess. Not necessarily.
For me, I wouldn't consider myself a patriot or a nationalist. I don't really care about the concept of nations and borders. I really don't. I've gotten to a point where it's what doesn't even matter. I just don't care.
I must admit, and this might be a bit controversial, but I am a globalist. I think that most people don't think about how perilous humanity's situation actually is, and how innately defenseless we are against the universe, and so fighting among ourselves is so counterproductive to me. And sure, that's complete idealism kind of thing, but I think that there may come a time in the future where everybody needs to understand that they're part of one species struggling to survive, not individual states trying to get the upper hand on the neighbor. Hopefully, maybe I'm a hippie, peace and love throughout the world. Hopefully we realize that. Well, when Corona's first started, I'm like, okay, a pandemic, maybe people will wake up. This is the real enemy, right? Your enemy is not nature. Right. It's all China's fault. I was like, come on, guys. This is a pandemic. This is a virus, dangerous. This is our real enemy. No. I one day hope we can kind of realize that things like asteroids, geological events, pandemics, that's our enemy. It's not the country next to you.
And see, I would argue that a lot of these divisions along lines of nationalism and statism and even certain racial and ethnic lines are ultimately rooted in the concept of class society. The fact that humans divide themselves based on the notion of different classes. And it won't be until we're capable of transcending that social structure that we will actually be able to see each other as, sort of one species here on this planet.
Yeah. Well, I have no doubt it's sort of rooted in class systems. Yeah. And I suppose that's where the nationalism comes from. My country should be in a higher class than yours. It should be in a special category. I really worry about American exceptionalism about that. In fact, I worry a lot more about it than China. And most people do, which is very strange, but, that's where we are. Yeah, so my feelings on the US, I love American people. I love them to death. They're some of the most wonderful people ever. Your government is complete shit. It is terrible what they've done. So yeah, that's my opinion on America. Don't hate me, please.
Yeah, it's really bad. It's really, really bad.
Well, I mean, it kind of is getting better, but so one thing I think we can agree on, Leo, is that I see one of the main problems of capitalism, and again, economics isn't my strong point, but it's the ability to make profit and leverage that into political power, and then the political power enables you to make more profit, and then that's just sort of a cyclic thing. That the amount of power that they get is just insane, because if profit translates into political power and political power translates into profit, they're just going to get out of control. And that's what I see as the main problem with capitalism. Even though I don't have a problem with the structure in general, I definitely have a problem with that.
Yeah. For me, I would just say that a large part of the problem is that the capitalist mode of production is what furnishes there being such a small amount of people who end up gaining so much economic power. that they can then use to influence governments. And we have to eliminate those systems. In any instance where those kinds of systems exist in human society, they're going to be abused by the people in them. And it's not like the capitalist class, like a Marxist like me is not going to sit here and say that it's the capitalist class sort of sitting there, something like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get evil. I'm going to corrupt the government, take over society. Oh.
I know. Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
That's not how it works. They're acting in their interests, and their interests are going to be to maximize their profits and maintain their power. And the best way for them to do that is to utilize some of their economic capital to influence governments. We're not going to be able to eliminate that until we can eliminate people having that much power to influence our social. I firmly believe no human or class of humans should ever have the enough power, in any sense, to be able to influence our broader social apparatuses, or the apparatuses that we use for like social change and organization and structure. No person should have that much power.
I think Kanye West said that.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was a great one, AJ. I love that.
Thank you. You know, I try. So
I take all of my economic cues from Kanye. Absolutely.
You should. Yeah. So I just wanted to take this opportunity. Hold on one second, to show off the painting I did.
Oh, that's cool, man.
Thank you. It's abstract. I know some people. Cool. I use some metallic paints, and some of the paints are actually glow in the dark. Like this section, like, will glow in the dark. So just wanted to show that. If you want to take another look at it, go to the community tab of my channel. But yeah, so really interesting discussion. Don't know what value is. I don't know what that is. I don't know her. But hello to the person I just added. How are you doing? I don't know what your name is. I just see 2 triangles. Is your name Isosceles?
Tux.
Oh, Tux. Oh, okay. Awesome. I get it. I get it. I've been very interested to talk to you.
I know.
How have you been?
I've been well. Yeah.
So I don't know if it's controversial for me to ask, but have you still been doing streams with Jay Bundy or no?
A little bit.
Okay.
Not very much. I pretty much will pop on in the background and just assist with the production value of some of his streams.
How's he doing?
His marathon ones I'm not jumping on much anymore.
That's too long. 11 hours?
Oh,
that's too long.
Yeah, that's too long.
Does he go to the bathroom?
He seems to enjoy it.
Yeah. I know. I got a full-time job. I got a wife. I got a dog. I can't do that.
I drank too much beer to sit there for that long without getting up to go to the bathroom. Yeah. So,
bro, I stream for about an hour and 20 minutes, and I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And my streams are great, you know. But
how is Jay?
Yeah.
I think he's doing well. He was, he did a stream today with my one black friend, Gin and Truth, and James Apperson, and it was very good. Talked about the Rebecca kind of signing off.
Yeah. Bread of life. Yeah.
Bread of life. Yeah. So
yeah, because I had called Jay out on some things he said about her. Because she's a friend of mine.
Oh shit! What? Oh no. I'm an idiot.
Well, I like Rebecca. I think she's a nice person, but I don't want to be mean. I'm just sort of saying this. Sometimes I think she doesn't listen to the person that she's talking to, but that's okay. I mean, you don't have to. It's just that's just what I feel sometimes.
Yeah, she still deserves a basic level of respect.
Oh, absolutely, and I do respect her. I just
I know.
on a stream.
I don't think
yeah.
Jay does. Though.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
controversially.
haven't been on her show, so I really don't know. I sent her an email and I never got responded to, so
That's
Mhm.
surprising.
her leaving is, water off a duck's back.
Bread of Life was literally the first person I ever did any sort of collab with on YouTube, like the first person ever. So,
Well, I think from what I've heard, she's left because of some of the people making comments about her and things and attacking her, and I think that that's bad for our community if that's true, because you shouldn't. I don't think anyone should go on YouTube, give honest opinions, and be attacked personally for it. I think that's bad. I think that's very bad. I don't think being tolerant of people.
Is it the atheist community that attacked her or the Christian community?
I really feel like, honestly, if I had to guess, I would say probably Christians, because she was a magnet for atheists. And I can tell you why. It was because Rebecca was very honest. Like, she was just an honest person. She fostered meaningful discussions. She still stood steadfast through all of it. Like, there were a lot of atheists who frequented her channel, and I'm pretty certain that it was probably some Christians saying things about her. That would be my guess.
I could be wrong on that. That's what I heard, but I could be wrong.
Hi, Danny. How you doing?
Hey, actually, I talked to Rebecca like a couple days ago. It's not because of the nasty comments. It's other reasons.
Okay.
Real life stuff.
Sometimes people need a break from YouTube,
Fair enough.
Although there was a problem with the nasty comments, but it came from her family. Her family didn't like it. So, can you imagine, like, you saying that I'm okay with getting berated, but then your spouse or your family members are not, right? So that was that might have been an issue too.
That's what happened with
Wait,
Daria.
so her family didn't like her doing the channel?
They didn't make the ultimate decision, but I'm just saying a factor is that some of her family members did not like the way that she was being treated by some people on YouTube. And so that factored into a decision.
And I mean, that does, like, even if you're fine with comments and then your wife or whoever is upset by it, that affects you, because I hate to see my wife upset. Even if mean comments slide off my back, I would hate that she's upset by it. Yes,
yeah, I call Mark a jerk all the time.
I know. My wife hates you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She screamed at me last week.
All right.
Can I ask you a question, Danny?
Yeah, what's up?
How long have you been listening? Because I know I saw you in the comments like maybe half an hour ago.
Yeah, I've been in and out. I've been doing other stuff. So, but it's been on. So, like, I go, I just leave it on sometimes while I'm doing work, or like I was just helping my wife pack for something. So,
I know. I just was curious how much you've been.
Yeah, I heard the value stuff, but I don't know if we want to go back into that.
I mean, I'm interested to hear what you have to say, because I know some of the people that you've hung around, but I don't know if everybody's wants to revisit that.
I would like to ask Danny a question or two.
Yeah, but without getting back into it, like, they're technical senses of the term value and economics that has nothing to do with, like, when we say, well, I value that for my mantle.
Like, I value my wife or something like that.
Yeah, like, I value that vase for my mantle. That's the difference. But yeah, so you have to, like, I don't know very much about economic theories, but they have different proprietary definitions of benefit and value and surplus and all that stuff, and it gets really technical fast, and I'm not prepared to ever get into those kind of discussions. Got to be worried about that.
Danny doesn't like economics, everybody.
Yeah. Well, Danny, I got to say as well, I know we butted heads. I was really impressed by you coming into Praise's channel when I was in there. I was actually really impressed. You made a lot of really good arguments. I just tell you that. It was like I described it on my my description as sort of Superman and Lex Luthor team up against.
Yeah, I think that's what did happen. And I tried to tag because I uploaded it on my channel too, and I tried to tag you, but apparently there's more than one Mark Reid.
Oh yeah,
What?
So I didn't know how to. How do you tag someone?
Can you hear me?
At. You tag them with an at.
yeah, you tag them with an ad, and then
Okay, what
Their
would
channel has to have over 500 subscribers to be tagged.
But,
As does yours.
but when I try to do it, I get a whole long list of Mark Reids, and I can't scroll down.
Well, Mark, how many subscribers do you have? Like, don't you have like 400?
300 and something. Yeah.
Okay.
No, but
Yeah. See,
I tagged somebody who only had like 50 something, and they saw it, so I know.
Well, I tried to tag you. I did.
well, tag in the title or tag in the description?
Both. I've had issues.
Oh,
with
because
both.
the tag and title, I think you have to have 500 subscribers to tag or be tagged. But in the description, I don't think it matters.
Yeah, well, I tried both, but anyways, I did on my video put featuring Mark Reid, and so I was hoping that you'd find it, but maybe not.
Yeah, no worries. It was ages ago, and I'm still learning YouTube, to be honest with you, mate. So, yeah,
So-
I'll certainly tag you in future if we do team up on the.
I would like to ask Danny a question or two and hold his feet to the fire and roast him. No, I'm just kidding. I saw the clip of the debate that you did that was on Mark's channel, I think, about gender and the Bible, and I thought it was excellent. I thought your arguments were really waterproof, and I thought the other guy was floundering. So kudos for that. A very entertaining video.
Yeah, I don't know if you wanted to say something after that because you said you had a question, but
Gender in the
I was
Bible?
just bringing that up.
yeah,
What do you mean gender in the Bible?
Yeah, I just don't understand. Christians among all groups should understand this distinction because they divide the soul and the body. They divide, they understand, they use pronouns for God when God is not biological. I mean, they have all these all this metaphysical stuff that they could use to say, hey, yeah, there is a distinction between these things. They have thought experiments like, could God switch me and you, or let's say switch my body with another woman's body? Does he have that kind of power? And if he does, that means that the concepts of body and mind are different. So they should know better, right? But they don't. So yeah, it always kind of bothers me.
I just love the thing about they didn't have chromosomes back in the Bible times, so how did they know someone was a man? I just thought that was so good because he couldn't answer it,
Yeah, they didn't know what any of that stuff was, but they knew what gender
Wait,
was.
which discussion was this?
Maybe I'll play a little bit of the video.
I went into Praise's channel and sort of they got triggered as soon as I mentioned Amy, kind of thing. They just get triggered by her mere existence, kind of thing. So they start. Yeah, absolutely. And then Danny, so I started talking about it and why gender isn't something that we base upon physical attributes. And then Danny came in and really carried the day. He really did a fantastic job.
Of course we do. What do you mean? Are you implying that we do chromosome tests on people before we assume their gender?
Oh,
Hello, Sunflower.
I didn't know that's who that was. Okay.
Oh, you didn't?
I recognize that.
I didn't know that.
Wait, but just in the current present day, we immediately interact with people and assume their gender. We don't do chromosome tests on them. So what do you?
Exactly.
Where's that?
So why?
Right. So what do you? So where's that point going? What do you mean?
Okay, so it's against the argument that was brought up that we base man and woman on chromosomes because that's what they brought up. But obviously, if in the ancient days they didn't even have chromosomes, and that was Danny's point, we're obviously not basing it.
We're still using the same system. It's just intuitively
No,
when you
you're
look.
missing the point.
No,
When you
what?
meet someone,
So
Okay,
I'm going to
help
play
me
some
out
of this
here.
video like I wanted
It's
to.
a sign.
help me out here.
In
Yeah,
the case of
I'll mute
Thailand, I
myself.
believe
Mark, wait, hold on.
gender is assigned to men.
You said there's more than two.
No, I don't think I will. So when you see those in other cultures, you can just
Mark.
sort of say, well, this
Hey.
isn't something
Hey.
that is intrinsically
Mark.
true of sexes. Yeah.
Hey, when you're done piffling, So you said there's more than two genders, right?
Sorry.
There's more than two genders. Is that what you
In
said?
other cultures, there has been, yeah. So if you actually listened while I explained, well, I mean, you can not believe it if you want.
Wait,
but I
why
believe
wouldn't
it.
you believe? Why wouldn't you believe in more than two genders? After all, under Christianity, there has to be the more than two genders because God has gendered pronouns, but He's not a man or a woman.
Here you go. Shut up.
That's a good point, Danny.
What's up, Danny? Good to see you, man.
Hey, what's up, Grace? Yeah, I'm just saying that there's got to be a third gender at least for God.
No, there's male and female.
Does God have a Y chromosome?
No.
Well, there you go.
Is he referred to as he?
Not a man,
I'll put it
then.
this way: Jesus does, and Jesus is God. So technically,
Yeah, but is God the Father? Is God the Father a he?
God is called Father, so you understand His role, how He treats His.
Yeah, answer the question: is God the Father a he?
Well, the Bible says He, yeah.
Or do you think that? Do you believe that God the Father is a he?
Well, yeah, that's what I call Him. I call Him Father.
All right. Does God the Father have any chromosomes?
Not that I know of. Spirit is invisible. He's spirit.
Exactly. So that means that you can understand gendered terms or a gender without chromosomes at all.
Right.
Yeah, but we're speaking of human beings.
No, but you said it.
Human beings.
You said it was to understand his role, Kevin. You said we call him he to understand his role. So what Danny's getting at is that is exactly what a gender role is.
Yeah, but as far as humans are concerned, your gender isn't separated from your sex. It's the same thing.
We're talking about the concept of gender. The concept of gender doesn't necessitate biology. Do you agree now?
Danny, don't play this game with me.
Do you agree? Yes or no?
Don't play this game.
It's not a game.
Can we pause this really quickly?
Everything's a game.
This is a thing that I've noticed. So it's not even just Christians that do this. I've noticed it in anybody that has been evidently just like cornered on like a tension or an inconsistency in what they believe, and then they know that the person that they're dealing with is the kind of person who's not going to let them run away from it. When they hold that person's feet to the fire, that person will start going, don't do that. Come on now. Like, shut the fuck up. I'm not doing anything. Quit running from the fucking point. It is so goddamn condescending. Quit acting like I'm doing something and it's not that you can't fucking put your balls on the table and answer questions. That's what the issue is. Now stop running and answer the question.
It's aggravating.
It's so irritating.
We all know Danny has, like, you know, an actual stance on the gender of God and isn't just, you know, and doing an exercise.
He doesn't need to have a stance on the gender of God. What he's doing is he's pointing out inconsistencies in somebody else's worldview.
Right.
He doesn't need to hold to some position to do an internal critique. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Inconsistencies until you're so blue in the face that you actually die. So
I don't even understand what that means.
You might want to draw the line.
I just want to play it a little bit more until we get to the part about
let's hear it.
Chromosomes in the Bible time. So this is not a very long video.
Okay.
I'll speed it up, actually.
It's a game when they're losing, right? So the idea is that
Am I the only one that's understanding what's going on here?
Yeah. So do you think there's a distinction between gender and sex? Yes or no, Kevin?
How many genders are there?
That is really
I
fast.
think it just kind of depends on the culture. Broadly speaking, there could be multiple. I mean, after it depends on what you mean by gender as well. But the idea
if there are
is
more
that
than two genders, can you tell me what the other ones are?
yeah, God would be the third gender.
Stop playing with me.
I can bring it back down to an even best level.
I don't know what's in your mouth, but swallow it so I can understand you.
Does God have a penis? Does God have a vagina?
Does God have
by your logic,
by your
logic, if he doesn't have a penis and he doesn't have a vagina, he must be a third gender.
Exactly.
What's talking right now?
That is so brilliant. Like, can we just replay that though? If he doesn't have a penis and a vagina, he must be a third gender. Just please run that back. That is like 250 IQ shit. We need to hear that again. That was
no. You misheard him. He said by your logic, because what Kevin had said earlier was that
right.
Man
can we just hear it again? I just want to hear it again. It was such a smart argument. We need.
Wait. Before we do, let me clarify for something for Sunflower. What Wildheart says.
I just want to hear it again.
Yeah, because you misheard.
I just want to hear it again.
Listen very carefully.
I'm asking to run it back. Why
do you keep over talking?
Why are you arguing on his behalf? Can we just hear the clip
again?
He's
not arguing anything. He's trying to clarify something. Why are you preventing him from clarifying? It's almost like when he does so, it's going to destroy what you're saying.
Okay, I just want to say this really fast. Hopefully, AJ will let me really fast. What Wildhard said was by your logic. So make sure you listen for that, because what Kevin had said earlier is he said, well, if you're a woman, you have a penis, or sorry, a vagina. If you're a man, you have a penis. And so Wildhard's saying by your logic, that God is a third gender. So listen for that by your logic.
Fine, fair. Yeah, I just want to hear it again.
Jake,
What'd you say, vagina? What'd you say? There are more than two genders. Can you tell me what the other ones are?
Yeah, God would be the third gender.
Stop playing with me.
I can bring it down to an even better level.
I don't know what's in your mouth, but swallow it so I can understand you.
That wasn't does God have a penis? Does God have a vagina?
Does God have
by your logic,
by your logic, what'd you say?
By your logic, if he doesn't have a penis and he doesn't have a vagina, he must be a third gender.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can you explain
the whole
to me,
point is when I think of stuff like womanly and man,
where in the logic is that ever No,
remember what Kevin said earlier. Kevin said earlier, maybe not in this clip, but in this discussion, he said that you're a man, you have a dick. If you're a woman, you have a vagina, right? Implying that those were necessitated in some kind of way. So
you got to remember, Danny.
No, he never
Sunflower
said
isn't. Sunflower doesn't listen to these discussions. He's just listening only to the extent. Here, let me turn my mic up since you can't hear me. He's listening only to the extent that he could try to find some hole in some argument and say some really stupid thing. But he's not actually like trying to understand the points being made.
I promise I am. But no.
Sunflower,
but this is
Sunflower. Can I ask you an honest question? Are you here to have a discussion, or are you just here to?
I am here to have a discussion. I think I've been relatively respectful so far. Have I really done anything that bad? I mean, I
don't think so. No, I just think that some of what you're saying is a little bit maybe distracting.
Okay,
but,
so and here's why I think there's a problem here. The idea of a third gender is still a it's saying like, oh, there's a third option among humans born to other humans. You can't just take a supernatural transcendent being and then like superimpose the gender concept and say like, oh, there must be more than two genders. This is clearly a tongue-in-cheek remark. This is not an actual argument.
How many genders?
You think there?
How many genders are there, Sunflower?
How many genders are there? I mean, it's actually a very hard question to answer, but what's not a hard question to answer is that God is outside of the purview of the
God is genderless.
Probably, yeah. Like,
could we all be genderless?
The point is, you wouldn't get a gotcha out of saying like, doesn't have a penis, doesn't have a vagina, therefore there's more than two genders. Oh, like it's like this is clearly not a good argument.
It's not.
That's not what he was saying. Are there only two genders, or are there potentially zero genders? Are there potentially three genders? Are there potentially more than three genders?
Maybe I don't know. I don't have the answer, but the point is, you're not.
What's your best guess?
How many genders do humans?
Based on the information that you have available, what's your best guess?
Yeah. So I think gender is essentially a more or less it's a performance of one's like sex. That's essentially how I view it. With that said, that's
social behaviors. Is that what you're looking for?
It's not
a
black
set of
and white.
social actions or behaviors.
Well, it's not black and white. I'm not.
Well, I agree with that. I don't think what you're saying. Like, I'm not trying to attack you for what you're saying. I think what you're saying. I think I understand what it is you're trying to say, and I think largely I agree with it.
Right, and so God doesn't have a sex because he's not reproducing with other humans. So the concept of gender, obviously,
does not have a gender.
God doesn't perform a gender because he doesn't have a sex because he's not reproducing with humans because he's not a biological being.
So you think gender does have connections to sex? It is rooted in
connections, sex. Yes, but I'm not even going to sit here. Look, I respect trans people, and I will respect trans pronouns. Some of the more like weird pronouns I do take issue with. I'm never going to call someone it ever. Sorry, I don't care if you requested.
Oh, I already have.
That's fine. Yeah, and look, maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I just have to learn more about why that's valid. But I'm not going to call you.
You ever call somebody Jeff? Like, are there names that people would have that you would never use?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, but I think the point is that I think
Like Keith, one of them.
What if someone's named the N-word? I'm not going to call him that.
I think Sunflower disagrees with Kevin, not with us.
Yeah, I
That's
would just like to say something real quick, because I feel like, I don't want to say that Sunflower is missing the point of this video, but I would just like to sort of state what I think is going on in this video. Obviously, like, you know, we're not trying to like grill you on if God has a gender, but Danny is asking this guy, and this guy is so unwilling to even think about the topic. He's super defensive, and I just think it's interesting to see how Danny navigates this guy trying to dodge the question. That's why I think this video is
That's fair, but I mean, I okay, that's very fair, but I do think at least it's worth it to have, as flawed as I am, as a theist and Christian, someone to point out like, okay, guys, this is gonna be fun. We're gonna you know, just prove how stupid this guy is, and we're all gonna laugh. But like, this isn't really a good argument against God. But let's just have some fun. Okay,
it's not an argument against God at all.
That's fine. Like, I'm fine with that.
That's okay.
Sunflower, it isn't an argument against God at all. It's not. It doesn't even touch on that. It's not trying to argue that God doesn't exist.
That's fine. Then I'm happy that we clarified that. So moving on, let's all laugh at this stupid guy and let's have fun.
Natalia, it's sort of gender roles are not sort of based on physical things.
Exactly.
Like if I say don't be a woman kind of thing, or you're acting like a woman,
or you're a father figure.
Yeah,
like in the God case, right? Father and mother, right? Father doesn't have to be understood biologically. After all, you think God the Father is not biological. It's weird for me. I think most Christians should understand what a transgender person is, that they exist.
Yes, it's someone with a mental illness.
Okay, what's the mental illness? Are they contradicting themselves?
Oh no.
I think
no. We should pause here.
Live in a delusion for.
You know what? Maybe we shouldn't. I should probably hear what Danny's actual approach is here before I say that I think he might be taking the wrong one.
Whatever reason. I mean, it's not necessarily their fault. I think there's something wrong with
that. Just tell me what the false belief is, so that we could say that we're delusional.
I don't know. It's a mental problem.
Okay, is it a delusion? Yes or no?
I don't know. It could be a chemical imbalance.
Is it a delusion? Yes or no?
It is delusional. Yeah.
Okay, so that means there's a false belief. So what false belief do they have?
I don't know. Why don't you ask them?
Well, you're the one that's making the claim that they're delusional.
Yeah.
But you've identified a false belief.
If you're a man, you got Y chromosome, you got a penis, you got dense bone structure, you got a denser muscle mass naturally. I mean,
are those all necessary features of man?
I've known some pretty effeminate men that still identify.
This is sad in my opinion. Like, this is not good. This is Danny at his worst.
Okay, so do you think that in order to be a man, or the definition of man implies XY chromosome?
Yes, if you're talking about a male.
All right. So if now during biblical times, did they understand what chromosomes were?
Well, no, obviously they didn't.
Okay. Did they know who men were?
Yeah.
Okay, so that means they knew what a
because
man
there's obvious
was.
distinctions
They had a
a
sense
woman.
of man. They had a definition of man. They had, excuse me. They had a sense of man. They had a definition of man that was divorced of chromosomes, which means that your sense of man is also divorced.
It stemmed from chromosomes.
So you want to agree that science?
Wait a second, that makes no sense at all.
I'm just saying there's a flaw with your definition in defining man in terms of chromosomes. Otherwise, people from the Bible have no clue what a man is.
Right, they've got no basis.
No, hold on a second.
They didn't know what
People in the
chromosomes
Bible didn't know that gold was.
I do think it is clear
to the end of the video.
We're not moving on from this point. Do you agree that you gave a flawed definition of man?
No.
Okay, so then the definition of man is a person with XY chromosomes, yes?
Yeah.
Was that the definition of man that the biblical authors were operating on?
You cannot.
Yes or no? These are yes or no.
Modern science and things we've discovered on an ancient past that didn't have the ability to find those things.
Right, but they still knew what men were, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that means you can know what a man is. That means that the definition of the sense of man doesn't necessarily imply chromosomes at all.
Danny, do you agree that men have Y chromosomes?
Some do, some don't.
What?
Some do, some don't.
How can you be a man or a male, a natural male, and not have a Y chromosome?
The point is that the concept of man doesn't entail chromosomes. After all, people from the Bible understood what a man was. They didn't know what chromosomes were.
Why do you need to understand what chromosomes are to know what a man is?
Let me explain why it matters.
Listen,
that's the point that Danny's making. You don't.
But it still stems from it, though.
Things like we do today. They would
No, it doesn't.
What? It could.
Okay, but the fact is that they don't, and they still know what a man is.
Those things. You are correct.
Yeah, so they don't know what. Look, the point is that
this is like
the
the water Agua, not H2O argument.
When they find bones in the dirt, and they're
well,
able
Danny
to
is
identify
running
the
a similar
skeleton, male or
argument.
female.
Yeah, I want to hear what Danny has to say about this now, because this makes zero sense.
Men and
AJ might be
structures, you
AFK.
can tell male skeleton
Gonna have
versus
to wait.
Like we identify that.
Yeah,
gold
Sunflower. Can you wait till the
Dude,
end of
it's
the video?
2 minutes.
It's like
just
2 minutes.
Okay.
Please.
Okay.
Just wait till the end. Write
Just
it
so we
down
can
if
have
you
a
need
complete
to.
discussion. Just
Yeah.
until we finish it. It'll be quick.
Versus a female skeleton.
Yeah, I'm fine with saying that archaeologists, paleontologists can identify biological sex, but that's not what we're talking about.
Yes.
We're talking about gender.
Yes, we are talking about gender, and you seem to be stuck on biological sex.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's possible for a man to have a uterus because we identify woman or womanhood with having a baby. You agree with that, right?
If you want to know someone's a woman, do you look at their uterus?
Yes, if I'm a
You
gynecologist,
do.
absolutely.
Well, you're not a gynecologist, as far as I know, Praise. I think that would be a horrifying prospect seeing you at the end of my legs. But that's not how you decide what is a woman in society. It's certain traits that we associate with femininity, kind of thing, and none of them are really.
Just think of God's omnipotence. Could God create a man with a uterus? Is he powerful enough? Is God powerful enough to create a man with a uterus?
Oh, come on.
He has the
Danny,
potency
what?
to do that, yes, Danny.
So that means that they're not. That means that a man could have a uterus. If God can do it, they could have.
Danny, what on earth?
Logically, yes, that's true.
Okay,
That's a stupid question.
Okay, it just gets really confusing when we have people in the stream that are in the video. If we're pausing, that's it.
Yeah, get through it. Okay, so I think Sunflower's got some issues.
Yeah, okay.
You can go with the
do
argumentation.
you guys know what fool's gold is?
Yes.
What,
Pyrite, you mean?
Pyrite,
why is it important to distinguish fool's gold from gold? Well, because it's not gold.
Because they're not the same thing.
Because it doesn't have value.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, the point is,
what do you mean by value?
The fact that the people were able to identify men before we understood chromosomes, all that proves that we didn't have we didn't get down
The concept of chromosomes, and thereby the concept of men wasn't attached to it. Is that what you're trying to say?
The emergent phenomena of what a man was, just like it can be rooted in.
I think the point is
it can be rooted in. Let me finish. It can be rooted in chromosomes without you knowing what chromosomes are. The same way that you might think fool's gold is gold, but when you do enough tests,
we're talking about
even if it's 99.9% similar, which fool's gold obviously isn't. But even if you do enough tests, you'll eventually find out it's not gold.
But the question wasn't that.
There you go.
The question was, how do you establish who is a man? That was the question, right? You've got to be specific to what the question was. And if you say chromosomes, well, what Danny pointed out was that in the time before chromosomes, we could still establish what a man is. So the question for you, Sunflower, is how do you establish what a man is?
Well, you do the best you can.
The answer is secondary sex characteristics.
You just do the best you can. You could be wrong.
Let me ask you: Is there a such thing as a third sex? Is it possible for there be a such thing as a third sex?
Of course not. No, that.
Okay, so what if there was a child born of nature to humans, and it is born of a third sex? It's identified as a female at the time of its birth, but at the age of 12, it starts growing male genitalia.
That's not a third sex. That's just a
well,
child.
Technically, yes, it would be.
It's a chromosomal disorder. It's not a third sex. You guys realize?
But wait, hold on.
Yes,
does sex refer to chromosomes, Sunflower?
Yeah, okay, I have a biochemistry.
No, answer that question.
Take your time. I actually have a biochemistry degree. I will entertain every argument.
Does sex refer to chromosome?
It refers to.
We talk about sex referring to
reproductive ability.
When we talk about sex, we're referring to a particular set of chromosomes. Correct.
The word sex literally it means reproductive ability. It's an
but that's not obviously what sex. I'm not talking about sexual.
Asexual reproduction is one.
I'm not talking about sexual reproduction. I'm talking about.
Then you know what sex is.
I'm talking about. I can tell you what I mean if you let me. I'm talking about the characteristic, the biological characteristic known as sex that exists in more than just even animals. You acknowledge that it is a chromosomal trait being described.
It's
correct
based on reproduction. Yes, go on.
It's a chromosomal trait, correct?
Based on how
it's a chromosomal trait. That's not what I'm asking you. That's not what I'm asking you. I just want an answer to the question I'm asking you. It's a chromosomal trait, correct?
not merely a chromosomal trait. No, that's a bastardization.
So sex is something more than chromosomes.
It is a reproductive chromosomal trait. That's what it is.
I have no idea what that means. Reproduction is not what I'm asking you about.
I'm the expert.
It's not relevant. Well, you're
I
not
have a degree in the
at
field,
all.
and you
don't have a PhD
Google
in the field, so you're
Google
not
it.
an
I don't
expert.
have a PhD. I have a degree.
It doesn't matter if you're an expert.
Yeah,
or not.
so
hold it.
I'm telling you, Google the concept of sex. It's a reproductive.
I have.
It's a reproductive concept.
It's a
But
chromosomal
not everybody can
trait.
reproduce, and they still
that's
have
a-
a
that's
Yeah.
over-
Are you saying that people that can't reproduce don't have a sex?
Often they're called intersex.
So they don't. So a woman who's barren, who can't give
they're
birth to
often
kids,
called
who can't. Hold on,
intersex.
Stop.
They're
A
often called
woman
intersex.
who is barren, who cannot produce offspring, cannot reproduce. She's not a woman then, right? Even though she's got the chromosomes for a woman. Is that double X or is that XY? That's XX, right?
Is the disorder?
Yeah.
Wait, is her inability to reproduce due to her chromosome or something else? Because if it's not due to her chromosome,
I actually think it's largely going to be due to other things.
Well,
I don't think that would be.
if it's due to the
chromosomal,
chromosomes,
but
we
I don't
actually
know.
call those people
I thought you
intersex.
said that you were the expert and you
Leo,
should know that. I don't know why you're
I'm
asking
trying
me.
to explain
Oh,
to you.
You didn't answer my question either, and I'd
you're
like
not
to
even
answer
letting me
the
talk,
question.
Leo.
Actually,
Leo,
chromosomal
I'm not letting you
problems
talk.
can lead to
Nothing that you're
infertility.
saying
Yes.
is
Leo,
meaningful.
you are not even letting me talk.
Yes, because you're not answering my question. I don't
will
care about
answer
whatever it is
your
you're rambling
question.
about. I care about an answer to
Leo,
the question.
Leo,
So let
you
me.
can't
Did
do
you
this,
understand
dude.
the question, or would you
This
like me to
looks bad
recapitulate it for you?
I'm explaining
Okay,
to you the
stop.
answer.
Did you understand the question? or
Guys,
would you like
stop,
me to
Leo,
recapitulate
please.
it for you?
Sunflower, please. Hey, stop. This is getting well out of control, and I'm not happy. Sunflower. Okay, so what he's asking. So you're basically saying it's the sexual characteristics based upon the chromosomes. Is that right? Have I got that right?
I didn't mute him.
Hello.
No. What? I don't know. I did. What are you replying to?
Can you clarify a bit on your definition of sex here?
Yes, good question.
Yes.
So
Biological sex is a concept
Yes.
that exists to describe how a species reproduces. That's exactly what it means.
Okay, but that's sort of sex as in sexual reproduction.
That's where the term comes from.
Would you like to know what it was?
Wait, Sunflower. What we're asking is the way that you distinguish sex in that sexually reproducing organisms, that population, how you're distinguishing sexually male or sexually female, right? That's what we're asking.
Sure, I'm with you so
Well,
far.
that's not what I'm asking.
Okay.
These guys don't know what they're talking about.
Let's narrow it down to a simple question that we want to ask Sunflower Leo. So what is
Yes, please,
your
by all
question?
Yeah,
that you
my
want to
question
ask?
is, if he believes that sex is chromosomal, like all biologists do. The sex of a plant refers to its particular chromosomal structure and thereby the particular gametes it will produce, right? Mr. Expert?
I would. I don't have a I
All
can't
right.
think of a problem with that definition.
So you are agreeing with that. So XX is female
So
in humans,
far.
correct? XX is female in humans, correct?
For the most part, you could have maybe a
with reference to sex, XX is female, correct?
Yes.
Somebody with
Okay,
XX chromosomes will
I'll
produce
play
what we
your
call
game,
female
Leo.
gametes.
Let's
They will
go.
produce eggs.
Yes, I'll play your game.
Okay.
Let's go. Yes.
And somebody with
yes.
XI produces male gametes, right?
You got it. Yes.
Okay, so what would somebody who's XXYY be?
Intersex.
Intersex. I don't think
Isn't
that's
that a third
what
sex?
intersex
I
is.
thought you
not a
said there
third
was only
sex.
two.
Well, it's not a third sex. It's a
What about
abnormality.
XXX?
It's an abnormality in
It's
which
a
you're
different
neither.
structure in chromosomes.
You're
isn't it?
neither one.
You're neither.
Yeah, you're
Did you
neither
hear that,
one.
folks?
So there
All right,
can
let's
be
count
a
this
gender
out.
binary.
Let's count this out. You're neither. There's male, there's female, and there's neither.
Yeah, the
zero.
Well, if you want to make it,
One,
there's three total,
two.
then that's fine. Okay, there's only three. Fine. We draw the line at three. I'm actually now I'm on board. You're either if you're male, female, or neither, then let's just fine. Perfect. I'm
All
with
right.
you.
So why isn't there three?
Let's try a
genders?
different avenue here. Has
no,
there ever
wait,
been
no,
a child
I
born
want
with?
to explore that avenue. I think
What?
you're frustrated because you realize that avenue is not really that.
Wait, can we?
I
can
think
we
we're all
get-
agreeing with
it's
each
not
other right
exact.
now.
I would like, yeah. I want to.
I like male, female, or neither.
I want to refocus on the.
I like
main
male, female, or
disagreement.
neither. Let's explore that.
I want to focus on the main disagreement.
No, Danny, I want to hear the guy with the headphones on and the glasses. Let's explore male, female, or neither.
Well, but I want to know what this is.
Why? Why do you have to hijack it?
Well, actually,
let Danny talk. Let Danny talk.
Is
it's Tux, but Tux made his point. Yes.
It seems like you're agreeing that there's a difference, at least in concept, between gender and sex, right? You don't disagree with us about that, right?
No, I don't. That's correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So that was what Kevin was disagreeing about. Okay. He thought so.
Is Kevin the guy with the glasses and the headphones?
The guy that I was talking to in the video. Now, I'm fine with saying that maybe part of our biology has some explanation as to why we form certain gender concepts and not others, right? But that's not, at that point, we're no longer talking about what the concept of gender is, what a concept of man and woman is, or what those entail, or whether they have essential features. So I think largely we're not going to disagree. What is it that you disagree with us on about exactly?
Originally I disagree with the idea that it's anything but a kind of tongue-in-cheek, exercise in sort of logic or refutation to say like, well, God, if there's only two genders and God doesn't have a penis or a vagina, God must be a third gender. Hey, you just disproved that the gender binary is like, okay, yeah, we all have fun and like philosophy 101 doing like these sort of little fun exercises. It doesn't get anywhere. It doesn't progress the argument at all. It's an extremely sort of glib and like, facile way of deconstructing, something on like a sort of surface level without without furthering the discussion at all. Ultimately, in terms of like
you're forgetting the people that is more on your side, right? Who are refusing.
Don't talk about people. No, because that's bullshit, dude.
Well, I haven't even finished. I let you finish.
Right? But that's such a bad opening.
Sunflower.
People more on my side. Like
sunflower. No, you're not doing this. Like Danny wants to speak, and he let you speak. Like everybody let you speak, and then you jumped in. Danny, go for it, man.
Yeah, really fast. We're forgetting who we're dealing with. We're dealing with people that will refuse to use he and she for people that want to be identified as he or she, right? And a lot of those people are also theists, right? But they're fine with using he or she to non-biological entities like God. They refer to God as father rather than mother. So then I think there's an inconsistency with those kind of people. Now, you may not be that kind of person, okay? Maybe you just said you use... But I'm just saying there's an inconsistency for someone that says, I will only use he. He is only reserved for biologically male individuals. But then they're fine to use he and father for God when there's not biological male. So that's the kind of person that I'm arguing against. Maybe.
Thank you, Danny. That is important. Yeah, thank you, Danny, for that. That is so important.
But it is important, though, because people... Yeah. Face violence when they're misgendered.
Oh, here we go. Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah.
Would you like to see the statistics, Sunflower?
Yeah, I mean, like, is this the pity party that you guys have with each other? Like,
is that supposed to be
having maturity? I'm having a maturity issue.
Dude, Danny is so much smarter than someone that's trying to say like, wait, there's people that try to say where you'll only use he for.
Yeah, like people like Kevin.
What he said made
no one even does that anymore.
Kevin does that. We were talking to someone that was doing that.
Did he actually say that if he sees
will
someone...
refuse to use their pronouns?
He is for people.
He said they have mental illnesses.
Wait, no, hold on. He said that if he sees someone that like literally looks as far as he can tell to be a woman, and someone like whispers in his ear like, "Man, that's a guy," like he'll just
He will switch. He would not use Amy Newman's pronouns if they were
that guy's
extreme
crazy.
Guaranteed.
Well, first of all, Amy Newman is not. That's a different story.
Not what.
Amy Newman is not what.
Yeah, some people might not consider Amy Newman passing, so that's not really.
What does that have to do with anything?
Because the whole point of what you just said was.
Passing. I don't see how it matters.
Maybe someone.
Whether or not somebody passes, you should still use their pronouns.
What's passing?
Hold on a second. I'm getting at what
if you
look
like it.
Yeah,
that's completely subjective.
Okay, well, fine. I'm kind of rude. You guys don't even understand my point. My point is like, if someone
Incredibly weird.
if someone is saying they refuse to gender someone, it's like, what ultimately? What does that? How is that consequential to?
Oh Lord!
Proving that God,
no,
to somehow try to equate that to like, well, God has no gender. Like that is
you're misunderstanding, right?
Look, we're not equating.
Someone
Danny's
like Kevin
point was totally logical, I thought.
Yeah, someone like Kevin, if he met someone, a trans woman, he would start using the pronouns he for that person. And when we would ask him why, he would say because they are not biologically male.
What if they're passing? Then he wouldn't.
Okay.
No, he would.
How do you know that?
How would he know?
He would. Look, Kevin.
That's my point.
Like Sunflower. That particular guy, he does not do that, even if it's passing or whatever.
As soon as he finds out they're trans, he will intentionally.
What if he didn't?
No. Sunflower. As soon as he finds out they're trans, he will switch pronouns.
What does it matter? That's not what we're talking about.
That is exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, then you're just not on topic.
I think I am. I think
I'm very. Let me repeat. Look, I'm just saying that as soon as he discovers, like, let's say,
what if he doesn't?
Let me finish.
What is as soon as?
I'll answer your question. Look, I'll answer your question. Let me just clarify what I'm saying.
What if he never does find out?
So what if he doesn't? Right? If he thinks that someone is a woman, he'll use she. But when he finds out that they are trans, that they're a trans woman, he will change and switch to he pronouns. And all I'm saying is that when we ask him why, he's saying, well, he'll cite the fact that they're not biologically male. And I'm saying, well, then there's going to be an inconsistency, right? Because he uses he pronouns for God when he's not biologically male.
That's not an inconsistency, like, at all.
I think
it is.
And I can guarantee you that type of person
is
the same person who would apologize for misgendering somebody's dog.
You think the same standards apply to a supernatural being?
Yeah,
that's not the point.
That doesn't identify.
Say it does.
It doesn't explicitly identify.
For the sake of argument, it doesn't, though.
No,
well, that's kind of special plating, really.
Hold on a second. I'm baffled by this. You're saying that, like, if someone believes that there's a revelatory, like, event that says, like, just call this person God because...
No, Danny's not saying anything like that. Danny didn't mention anything about revelation, so I don't even know what you're on about.
That's entailed in his pointing out of the contradiction. Because obviously Kevin, we would can assume he believes God is a transcendent being. No,
forget about God.
That doesn't really matter.
Well, that was the whole point of Danny pointing out that inconsistency.
No, it wasn't. I can explain to you what the point was.
Danny, just wait.
Would you like me to explain to you what the point was?
Let Danny clarify. Danny, were you not?
I'm just saying there's an inconsistency.
No, we need. I'm asking. Please let us ask Danny.
Yeah, Danny's trying to explain.
Danny, were you not?
Stop interrupting Danny then.
So yeah, let me ask the question, Danny.
The point is that if someone says, "I will only use he pronouns for biologically male people," and they believe in God and they refer to him as he, there's an inconsistency.
Exactly. Thank you. It's exactly what I said. Thank you for literally
saying.
Yes, it is. That's exactly what I said.
Mm-mm.
Exactly. I believe
you went off about Revelation. Danny didn't mention Revelation.
No.
You went off about like this, that, and the other
thing.
Yeah, Danny didn't mention transcendent being.
God is not
to do with it. God might not be transcendent, and what Danny still said would be the case. So
what? No. What are you saying? Clearly, the person here that's giving it hold on. Clearly, the person Kevin here who is making
take a breath though.
So clearly, do you guys not think that Kevin's only making an exception for God because he believes God is literally a supernatural, transcendent, all-powerful being?
That goes back to
that's why he's making the. But that's the only reason he's making the exception. He wouldn't make the
exception. He's doing it because
okay, so
he's making an exception for God only because of God's special nature.
Special plating, I get what special plating is.
Well, it's not even special plating. He's saying he's like a fundamentally different kind of being than you or me. That's why.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. He doesn't have a gender, right?
Well, of course that matters.
It doesn't really matter.
Of course,
God have a gender. Sunflower, does God have a gender? Do you think Christians God has a gender?
What's his gender?
See, you can't actually address the point. You gotta
this is so
do this
dumb.
thing
Like,
that
I
you
can't-
do.
like, what am I even listening to?
Sunflower.
I'm
Does
amazed
God
at how
have a
badly you
gender?
misunderstood these arguments.
I don't believe God has a gender. I said gender is
So then, but people refer to God as a he, though, right?
That's
So
fine.
why do they do that?
No.
Maybe
People
it's
refer to
for-
God as a
maybe
he. People refer to God as a he, right?
Yeah, and so
Yeah, but God doesn't have a gender, right?
Yeah, and every other case
Yeah, so
besides
then the
God-
concept of he-ness isn't attached
No,
to
Leo,
that. It's
Leo,
not just
Leo.
biology.
You can't have he-ness
God
without a
doesn't have
penis.
one. That's
Leo,
the point. It doesn't matter
Leo.
if God is transcended. It doesn't
This is
matter
so
if he
ridiculous.
reveals
You gotta
something
give
to
me
you.
so ridiculous.
He doesn't have a biology, but we can still
Language is
understand what it
limited.
means to
Language
associate
is-
he-ness.
language is
So if
limited.
you can understand that with God, then you can understand it with other people.
Leo,
That's
language
the
is
point.
limited.
And you're not even remotely close to that.
Well, first of all, I said I
Sunflower.
do use people's preferred pronouns, so I don't even know what you mean. I can understand with other people.
That suggests
Only if they pass.
that in
No, not only
referring
if they
to
pass.
God, that suggests in referring to God, you shouldn't be saying he, you should be saying it.
No, this is a special rule. What do you mean? Why is that? What's
For
wrong with
them.
that?
What?
Because
special rule?
because things without a gender we refer to as
No,
it.
people
like,
that believe in
my
God
water
believe
bottle.
that God's
It.
rule takes precedence over any other language convention. So if
What are we talking?
So if the Bible
Takes
says call
precedence
God the
over
Father, we just say like, oh yeah, I guess. So the word he.
So God is identifying as a man, despite
Well,
not having.
I mean,
matter.
according
Yeah,
to the
like,
King
sure,
James version.
Sure, why not?
Yeah,
Okay.
so people can identify as
Because
a man
God
without
commands them to
having
do
the
so.
biology
Yes,
of
because,
a
Leo,
man.
because
Yes.
God, because
Yeah,
God
you're starting to
commands
get
them-
it.
Yeah, are transgender
Yeah.
people God? No.
What's
Well,
Jesus'
like,
gender?
Are transgender people God?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
like,
they
it's-
are. Amy
They
Newman
are
is my God.
This is
She is a goddess. Yeah,
people that
I must
believe in
admit.
God obey God's commandments.
Sunflower,
don't really
do
need
dogs
further
have
explanation.
genders? Do dogs have
Like
genders?
this is I don't know. Leo is having a moment or something. I don't really.
But do dogs have genders?
Do dogs have genders?
Yeah.
I think I can't think of a way they do. No.
What?
I don't think they do. No.
You don't think dogs have genders?
I don't think so. No. I can't.
And what's
think
the
of,
word dog backwards? Bazinga.
AJ, can I ask you a quick question?
Okay.
Did you say you can't have he-ness without a penis?
I did say that.
But like, do you guys not realize, like, even if you believe in this flying spaghetti monster, right? Hypothetically,
Right.
if I believe in a flying spaghetti monster, and the flying spaghetti monster just says, "Look, spaghetti is some sort of tomato sauce and pasta, except when you use it to refer to me. Then it doesn't have to be that.
And it's just
No,
not
but the
spaghetti,
flying-
right?
But
That's
like,
because he can fly.
But the point is, if
My
the people,
mosquito can only fly if it's thrown across the room at the
okay,
wall.
well, wait, just let me finish my point. Like, if the people think that the spaghetti monster is like a sort of all powerful,
Have you
all
seen
knowing,
the flying spaghetti
just
monster's
let me.
noodle?
Why can't you just let me make my point?
Yeah, doesn't
If
he
he's-
have a noodle?
We're having
It-
fun
it-
with you. We're
He has a
playing with
noodle
his food.
and meatballs. Come on now.
If these
I
people
apologize. Go
actually
ahead.
believe the flying spaghetti monster is like an all-knowing, all-powerful, all-loving, like creator of the universe, then why would that be an issue for them to say, like, oh, if there's one exception, if there's one being, we technically are not literally referring to like a plate of tomato sauce and pasta. For him, we just use the word, but we're actually we use it, and we also believe he's like a supernatural creator. Like,
Yeah,
you guys
that'd be
think that's
pretty
like some
fucking
kind of
stupid,
like
right?
logical contradiction. Fine, you can call it stupid, but it's not inconsistent.
Yeah, it's really stupid.
Like, fine, call it stupid. That's fine, but like the idea that like, fine, yeah, I don't have a problem with you calling it stupid.
Just because
But, like-
because I believe in a flying plate of spaghetti and noodles, it has some special exceptions that everything else in the universe adheres to, except for this one thing that I believe in. Yeah, I agree. That's pretty fucking stupid.
Fine, you can call it stupid. That's fine. I have no issue with you calling it stupid. That's actually the most
Is it?
the most sensible thing you guys have said so far. What's not sensible is saying that, like, oh, you have to apply the same standards you do to other biological humans.
Nobody said that. Nobody said that. No.
Leo.
No.
Danny
No.
literally said that
No,
it's
he
inconsistent.
didn't. No,
to
he
use
didn't.
Gender
When did Danny
the
use the
same
word? Danny,
way.
did you use
Yes.
the word standard?
No, wait.
Danny,
let
is
me-
standard a word
let
that you
me-
use?
Hold on. Wait.
Is that
hold
something that
on.
you said?
Leo, let me make my point. The entire pointing out of the inconsistency was that if you're only referring to men as biological males, then when you refer to God as a father or male, that's a inconsistency. That's exactly what the point was. I'm saying obviously not, because Christians don't use pronouns and the word, the father, in the same way they do to God as they do to other humans.
So then what do they mean by it? When they say God is a he,
I have to respond to that. I have to respond to that. Then that means that Christians equivocate on the word he when they're referring to God. Then the question becomes, why are they not comfortable equivocating in the same way with respect to transgender people?
Because God commanded one and not the other.
I don't see what's the relevance
what do you mean?
to that?
Because if we believe in God and God in God's revelation says like I am the Father, then we just say okay, I don't need any more.
What does God mean by that? Though?
Wait.
Is it possible?
Danny,
I think one person should talk. It's either you or me, Leo.
It has to be me versus Danny now. Please let me and Danny please let us have this back and forth.
Yeah. Okay, so I asked, why is it that if you're comfortable equivocating in the case of God, what's the principal distinction or bar for not equivocating in the same way with respect to transgender people?
Sure, and the answer is that because in the revelatory event that happened, that is, the life of Jesus, and of course the New Testament through the Gospel of Paul, Luke, Mark, John, and the New Testament, since God is referred to as the Father and he and him, we adhere to that because we believe that's actually the message of God. Like God, right? This is not a person saying like, I just think you should refer to God as the Father. Like we believe this is the message of God versus just a random schmuck on the street saying, I want you to refer to me as this. So we obviously take one of them. We take that seriously. We don't question it. We obey it. The other one is like, and I'm not referring to myself here because I actually do respect pronouns within reason. But one could argue that the reason they don't accept it when a random person on the street asks them to use it because it's not God's revelation. They don't believe a transgender person saying refer to me as whatever they don't think that's God's revelation. So they don't obviously give it as much authority as they do the literal revelation of that defines their religion in the first place. Do you think maybe that could have something to do with it?
So what you're saying is that if you use the term he to refer to biological males, and then some very powerful being tells you to use the same term he for themselves, even though they're not biologically male, you're going to just use that term given their great amount of power, right?
Of course, absolutely, yes.
Okay, so then,
of course,
but you're still not going to understand the sense of he, right? You're just uttering a noise, right?
I understand the sense of he.
What's the sense of he? What does that mean?
It has one definition, and there's an exception when it comes to God.
Yeah, what does it mean? What does that exception mean?
What does the exception mean? The exception doesn't have a meaning. It's a command.
No. When you say he, when you're talking to men, that he represents biological maleness. Now, what does he imply when you are using it to refer to God?
I don't care at all. It was commanded upon me to use that terminology.
Right. So it goes back to what I was saying. It's just a noise. It doesn't have any meaning.
But that generally suggests that you don't think God. But that generally suggests that you don't think God is a man at all.
I believe God has a male nature, but again, it doesn't really matter. The point is
male nature.
You think God
it doesn't matter. The point is it's the revelation refers to God as he or the Father. So I do too.
Yeah, I'm not disputing that. Look, I'm asking.
I don't need an explanation. I don't need an explanation. It means it doesn't have to mean anything.
Okay, so it doesn't mean anything when you say
it might, but it doesn't have to for me to use it.
Well, I'm asking you, does it mean something or not?
It makes sense to me, yeah.
Okay, so then if it has a sense, then what's the meaning?
Well, it makes sense to me like intuitively. I don't know that I'm necessarily accessing what God's trying to convey.
No, I'm not asking for that. I'm just saying that when you utter the term he, like for instance, he is risen, or he, the Holy Spirit is in me, right? I'm asking how you're using the term, and it seems like
Jesus was a man.
Is the Holy Spirit a male?
Well, I don't refer to the Holy Spirit specifically as he.
Okay, is the Father male?
Not in the biological sense, but I refer to the father as the father just because that's how the text says so.
Yeah. Do you
Does the
refer
father have a
as
male nature?
I mean, all I do is I use the terminology that exists. Like,
Look what I'm asking. But I'm asking what the term
I don't
means.
need meaning. I don't need meaning.
Okay, so it doesn't have a meaning, so you're just making noise.
Because I believe that God, as in the creator, designer of the universe, that is all powerful. Yes, in this one instance, I don't ask for further explanation of why I'm using certain words.
There's not further explanation. That's not what I'm asking. I'm not asking why God wants you to use that term so much as what do you mean by the term when you use it. You don't mean anything. It just means like
Well, I get a father is at least half of a parent, and because God sort of seeded the universe, at least there's a 50-50 chance that would actually make perfect sense.
Okay, so there's a sense in when he is describing a masculine role.
It's kind of describing I'd say the same way a parent gives birth to a child, in a sense creates the child. Okay, I think about the father as I guess maybe we're missing the mother here, but at least it's still coherent enough to think that a father has a sort of a role of creating.
Yeah, I actually agree with you here, and that's my point, is that you're using gendered terms, right, to express a role, which is what we were trying to explain to Kevin.
Well, it doesn't have to be, though.
I'm not saying it has to be.
Yeah, so it makes sense to me in that way, but that's...
Yeah, I think it makes sense too, right? But Kevin is saying that...
So wait, what's the issue?
Yeah, what Kevin is saying is that when he uses the term he, it necessarily refers to male, like biological maleness, like those biological characteristics he gave, like chromosomes and genitalia. Right?
In every case except God.
And we were just saying, hey, no, there are usages of he that we can ascribe to people that don't have to do with any of those things.
No, only God is the case that we don't do that conventionally.
I just don't see how you're going to get it. You see, Mark said this earlier. How is this not a case of special pleading?
Because God, well, it's special pleading for a good reason. God is... If you believe in this God, they created the universe, they created everything, they're all powerful.
Why does that matter?
Because we obey the God whatever they say. It doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense.
No, why does it?
It doesn't have to make sense.
Him being, I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I'm saying that I understand that you're making an exception with respect to your language because God is the creator of the universe and all powerful. But there's no reason behind why you're making that exception.
The same way you don't have reasons to obey a master in any other context. You just obey the master.
So do you have a reason for making that exception?
Do I have a reason? I don't know. I think it's conventional to do it. Okay. So I would need a reason not to.
I'll jump out.
AJ. I would need a reason not to do it. It's conventional to do it.
Take it easy, everybody.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Oh, you got to go, Leo?
Yeah. AJ wants somebody. Oh, I guess somebody already. Wait, Mark left. What? Okay. Well, I'm still gonna take off too. Thanks for having me on, AJ. You guys, everybody, take it easy.
Yeah, take it easy, Leo.
It's kind of like this, I guess.
What's the issue here?
The issue is that it's special pleading, right? Which means that you're not going to.
So what?
So that means that you don't. It's arbitrary as to who you're.
No, I'm deliberately allowing for special pleading because in this one case, it's God.
Yeah, but I'm asking
intentional special pleading. It's intentional special pleading.
And usually it's fine to say that it's intentional, but the point is that you're not going to be able to provide a principled criteria to say that, well, God, an all-powerful, all-good being deserves to use, is the kind of being where I would make this exception. You're not going to have a reason behind that. Because
what? Of course I do.
The distinction you're making is not a conceptual difference.
Wait, why would I not have a reason to?
Well, go ahead.
Okay, so all-powerful being commands something of me. I obey these commands, no matter what they are. It commands me to use the pronouns he in a way different from how I usually use them for other people, so I do.
Yeah, so why?
Because it's commanded of me to do so, and I obey the commands.
Yeah, but I'm asking why.
Why do I obey? So now you're asking me why I obey the commandments of God.
With respect to this,
well, it would be the same reason I do respect any other commandment. it wouldn't be any different at all. Why would it, like? I don't have different. I don't have different reasons for different commandment. It's literally like whatever God says, He's the boss. I do.
Yeah, but I'm asking why.
Because I believe ultimately my fate is sort of in God's hands, and I ought do what God sort of wills in order to like have.
Why should you do what God wills? Because you value.
Just to be clear of where this conversation has gone. Like we've pivoted from why is it okay to call God He to why even believe in God at all.
No. I'll describe what just happened. Right, you're saying that there's a principled reason for why you're making an exception to God with respect to pronouns as opposed to other people.
No. I'm not making that argument.
Okay, so there is no principled distinction or principled reason.
There may or may not be. I obey it regardless.
Yeah, but I'm asking. But the whole point is that you're obeying for one reason, right? For a reason, presumably.
The reason that it's, as far as I understand, that's how God revealed Himself in Revelation. So I use the language that most closely resembles how God revealed Himself in Revelation.
Okay, yeah. So God tells you to use these pronouns. You don't really know what they mean, although you kind of just
that you did. I don't really know what they mean.
Okay. And I'm asking, okay, so then you're making an exception with respect to your language. Yeah. And I'm asking, why is it that, why make that exception? And it seems like it just boils down to you care about what God has to say because it boils down to your own values, right?
I mean, I guess the same way how is this any different than asking why anyone does anything they think God commands?
Yeah, look, I guess...
Like Jews don't eat pork. How is this different than that?
Look, I think the idea is that when the nature of special pleading is that if you say, well, all bachelors are married, or unmarried rather, but with exception to this bachelor, right, then we're going to be like, okay, well, why is that bachelor going to be married rather than unmarried?
And I can easily explain that because in this case, this bachelor, which is God, which is not a human that's mortal like you or me, really doesn't fit any of the criteria of bachelor to begin with. So that's obviously why I'm making an exception for this quote unquote bachelor. Like it's because it's an exceptional being. It doesn't fit any of the other criteria that what we apply, he, him, male stuff to. In fact, not only does it not fit that criteria, has the characteristics of the most like supreme, powerful, and if you, of course, this is only if you actually believe Christianity, like loving, moral being. Of course, we are going to make an exception for this kind of being. Like that should. Yeah, but the fact that you're taking issue with that is shocking.
Yeah, let me. This other guy has his hand up. I don't. What's up? Do you have?
Is it possible that God was a bachelor upon a time and then got married, and he's no longer? There's now a Mrs. God, and he's Mr. God, and that's why he's called he.
Well, I think.
Wow, that's it.
I think the point of that is this, right? I understand the concept of bachelor to be unmarried, right? And that's what I mean by the concept. So when you're saying that some married thing is a bachelor, then it's confused, right? So in the same way, if someone says, well, he necessarily means maleness, like and biologically maleness, then when you ascribe he to non-biological entities, that's confusing. But with the bachelor case, you're saying, well, in that case, when I'm applying bachelor to married people, I don't really mean anything, right? I just use the term. And
I might have insight on this. So Danny, let's say you can only see in 2 dimensions, okay? And everyone you meet, when you ask them their size, or when they describe their size, they give you a height and a width, right? So everyone describes their size in terms of height and width, okay? Everyone you're 5'7", or 2'3", or 2'12", right? And then you stumble upon a being that says, I'm 9. And you go, 9 by what? They go, I'm just 9. And you're like, I don't understand what you mean by that. Like 9 by 9? Like, no, I'm just 9. And then you're like, well, I can't make sense of that. And they're like, all right, fine. For the sake of whatever, just say I'm 9 by 9. And you're like, oh, they're 9 by 9. And then you realize, like, yeah, like, what if this person exists in like 40 dimensions or 1 dimension? Well, then all they're doing by telling you that they're 9 by 9 is saying, like, the best way to describe me with your limited perception is this. Is it perfect? No, but just use it because it's sort of like the best estimation of what I am.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like on one hand you're saying that I just use the term. It doesn't really it doesn't carry a meaning. Although that seemed
the entity told me it was the best way to describe them, even though it's not necessarily.
Yeah,
perfect.
and I'm just saying that if someone says that, oh, the best
if
way.
If God says though, only person.
I guess the puzzle is that. If God says these are my preferred pronouns and you don't understand them, but you obey God anyway, but if a transgender person
because it's God,
but if a transgender person said these are my preferred nouns, I don't see why God's word matters any more than the transgender person.
You can't be serious.
I'm serious.
Yeah, we're serious.
See why God's word would matter more
100%
than a random person off the street.
Yeah, God's word is useless.
Not with respect to this issue.
To a person that ostensibly believes in his God.
Sunflower, does God want you to be? Does God want you to be a bigot? That's a serious question.
Yeah, I don't know.
Bigger question for me is
you should figure that out because you're unfortunately coming across as kind of bigoted.
I've already explained that I use people's preferred pronouns.
Sorry, Keith.
I use people's preferred pronouns without any ifs, ands, or buts. I will use everyone's preferred pronoun. Always have, always will, as far as I can see. So you're not going to get very far with that argument, Randolph.
Yeah, let's give Keith a chance.
Bigger question here is the Bible itself is what determines the gender of God, if you want to call it that. And the Bible itself was written by man, not by God himself. So considering it was man that wrote the Bible, wouldn't it then behoove man to say God is the same gender as the person writing the book itself?
No, that makes no sense at all. Try again. Maybe come back tomorrow.
I like that argument.
Let me ask a follow-up question.
Good sleep. Work on that one. That one's like you're 25% of the way there. You got 75% more to go.
Does the Holy Spirit have a gender? The Holy Spirit usually doesn't have a gender reference.
Correct.
In my opinion, right?
Right. Agreed.
So
how come God does then? So how come God does?
And we're, of course, assuming that God does the whole exist thing.
Well, if God didn't have a gender, they'd be referring to God as deity rather than God.
Does the tabernacle have a
female
gender?
Would be God.
Yeah, it really doesn't matter. I mean, the fact that Danny is not understanding why we would give, like unquestioning,
Danny's
dodge.
covering the bases of what things mean.
Danny's correct.
Well, yeah, no, but the point is like basic understanding of what God is as an entity.
Okay, let me try to level with you as
so
far
much
as
sense that
let
we
me
would
try
just
to level with you. Okay, so if God tells me that I should, I don't know, go to bed in an hour, I'm going to do that, right?
Okay.
Because there's certain things I know about God that I know God might care about my future. He might be for a good reason that I need to go to bed in an hour or whatever. There are things that I value about God. Now, if you tell me to go to bed in an hour, then I'm probably not going to listen to you. But I would listen to someone that I thought that was very powerful, like God. Now, okay, but that's because, and I offered the reasons, right, that God has what's best in mind for my well-being, and so maybe there's something in his plan where I should go back to bed in an hour. Now then let's change the question. Okay, so God says, well, I want you to call me, or my preferred pronouns are he. Okay, well, I want to respect God, right? I don't really understand what it would be. Maybe I might not. I do understand, but let's say I'm a Christian. I might be confused. I'm like, well, God, aren't you not biological? I thought you were pure spirit, pure being, whatever. But okay, fine, I'll call you he because I respect you, right? I just don't see why that same logic wouldn't apply to the transgender person that says, hey, look, I prefer these pronouns. And I still might, even worst case scenario, I might think, Well, don't really get it, but okay. I respect.
Wait, you just explained it with I thought the going to bed scenario just proved exactly why you do it when it's God and not with the.
The point is the reason why you want to respect God. The reason why you use the he pronouns for God, if he were to demand those pronouns, because you love God, you respect him, you want to do what he says.
Well, wait, God has but the bedtime thing. Did you not just say God has your best interest in mind? So when he tells you to go to bed in an hour, it's because you believe God has your best interest in mind. When the transgender person asks you to refer to them as a certain pronoun, is that because they have your best interest in mind? No. There's nothing to do with
I've changed the question. The question's of a different nature. What God is expressing to you is that this is how I want to be termed.
Well, right? Wait, then what was the point of the bedtime thing?
The point is that I understand where you're coming from in the sense that God is a different kind of entity. He's powerful. He's good, all-knowing. So that might mess with the way that you value or who you're to obey. But I'm telling you that if God were to ask me, hey, here, or say, could you use these terms, could you use these pronouns, what I would think my own logic, maybe not your logic, would be, well, I love God and I want to respect him. So I'm going to use these pronouns even though I don't understand. I don't see why that same
Wait, you didn't understand with the bedtime thing. Why'd you obey it?
It's different though, right? It's not that I'm simply, it might be that it depends on what each person. I'm telling you why I would obey God, because maybe.
Why would you obey God with the bedtime thing?
Because he might have my interest in mind. Right?
Same exact thing with when he refers to what he wants to be called he.
I don't think usually that's the case though, right? The case
of course it is. Everything God commands is your best interest in mind. Point blank period. That's the starting point.
No, he tells you to kill your own son.
Just start there. No,
okay.
Hold on. Of course. Wait, Danny, you think that some things God does are just trivial and some things?
Yes, 100%.
Well, no. I'm asking Danny. Hold on. If you believe in the Christian God, like you think that
under Christianity, there are going to be certain things that he commands you to do for some utility,
purely trivial.
Your happiness and stuff like that. But there's some things that God commands us, I understand from Christianity, that are for his glory, for respecting him.
Which ultimately does you that ultimately still does you good by if you're helping glorify him. Yes.
Not always. He doesn't. Do you think you deserve a cookie or something?
Danny, hold on a second. Where are you? You are not. This is weird. You are saying that basically, if it's intelligible to you in the moment, because like God going to bed in an hour, it seems like he might have a good reason. You do those things, but then the ones that you can't comprehend at the moment, even though we all Christians agree that there's going to be things commanded of you that you don't understand why they're good in the moment, you do them anyway. You're somehow trying to say that there's still an inconsistency with obeying the things that in the moment don't necessarily.
We're going too far backward. I'm just saying that my reasons for obeying God might vary, right? In the bedtime case, that might be just because I maybe God knows something I don't, right? But
why would that not be the case with the he pronoun too?
Because usually when someone is saying this is the title, I want you to call King. I want you to call me King, Lord, Savior. I want you to call me these things. I am these things, and you're to refer to me as those. I don't associate that with my well-being so much as this. If you respect me, this is how you're going to refer to me.
But it's God. You like he has all kinds of weird like. I don't know if this is.
Are you disagreeing with me?
I'm not trying to be condescending. Like. People that believe in God don't claim to understand, don't like have a one-to-one understanding of exactly why
things he's disagree with me.
Why do you think Jews don't eat pork? Seriously, like this
Wait, no, I'm confused.
101. 101.
Right. 1 second, you've confused me. Did you disagree with what I just said?
Yes, people that obey God's commandments don't do so.
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I last said.
You said that some things make sense to you and some don't.
That's not what I said.
Okay, what did you say? I'm sorry.
I said that sometimes God commands people to do things not for their own happiness or well-being, but because he wants respect.
Well, that's not actually different because glorifying God will ultimately lead to their happiness and well-being in the Christian concept, in the Christian context.
Why? Okay, so you're saying everything that God does is ultimately for your happiness? Is that what you're saying?
Ultimately, yes. To get to heaven, yeah, by obeying. This is the exact reason that like the Jews and Muslims strictly don't eat pork. They don't. I don't think they really. I've never really. Oh, there's a few that will say like, oh, it's unclean, but like most of them sort of understand like, this is just more or less we can cook pork now and get rid of the bacteria, but like we just don't do this. It is part of our we obey God. God commanded don't eat pork. We don't eat pork. Like they don't necessarily have an explanation for it anymore. They just don't do it.
Okay,
So,
that's fine. I'm willing to
like,
grant that to you. I just don't meet a lot of Christians that think that. Some people think that God has irreducible ends that have to do with his glorification and not for your happiness, right? But that's fine. If you think that everything that God commands you is just for your own good, so be it. Okay. The point is that if you're choosing to obey, well, that also seems to imply that every time you obey God, you just do it for your own well-being or your own happiness. Is that your? Because sometimes I do think for people.
Now you're losing things a little bit. Look, I'm willing to stay on pace with you, but the original point was that I have to keep you to your original point of trying to draw an inconsistency, and the inconsistency you originally drew in the clip that AJ played was that if as long as you can apply he to God, who a Christian may view as not having a proper gender, there's no reason you should not also be able to just like openly, anyone who asks me to call them he, I'll also just respect that. Like no questions asked. Like I think that's ridiculous. We give so much authority. It's like literally God is the most authoritative figure that we sort of obey. Now you can go down a whole rabbit hole of why, whoa, you're technically doing it for yourself, whatever, fine. But the idea that we have to, because of some kind of command of God that doesn't map onto our language use for other humans, mortals, that's supposed to actually be an inconsistency that makes us scratch our head and go, guess I should just call anybody whatever they want to be called. It's like that to me is just so weak.
No, it's just going to be false.
I agree.
It's just going to be something like this. Look,